Welcome to part 5 of What If Kami sends Naruto back in time to fix his mistakes. Please remember to like and subscribe as it motivates me to upload more in the future, and as always link to the fanfiction is in the description. Time skip, 3 months later. Naruto woke up to go to school today. That should have been a normal behavior, but it wasn't. He soon got fed up with the monotony of schoolwork and sent a shadow clone in his place. He got the memories anyway, so he could use the time better to physically train with Yosuke, Jiraiya who had recently shown back up, Tsunade when she wasn't working, or the ever-growing horde of shadow and wood clones. He would also do his seal crafting, business and orphanage management, and spend time with his alter egos on days he skipped out. Naruto enjoyed training far more than school, but there were some days that he had to be present at school, and this was one of them. Their midterm assessment was today, which meant he would have to fight and partake in the other tests. Some days, he let Hikari go since she sporadically said that she wanted to know firsthand what the academy was like. She always came back extremely bored and said she didn't want to go again. Then, a week or so later, she would ask to go again as an excuse to get out of the shop. Naruto loved his innocent personality and was more than happy to cave to her whims. Anyway, back to school it was for the original Naruto. A lot had happened in 3 months, most of it good. He, or his clones, had been able to kickstart the relationships with Shikamaru, Hinata and Ino. In addition, he let the Kumo shinobi into their little group, which was made far easier when they heard the story of the Kumo incident and apologized to Hinata on behalf of their village. Hinata, ever the forgiving type, easily accepted the apology and welcomed them into the study group. Naruto, having little faith in the academy's curriculum, had started his study group on actual training that would benefit them. Physical CrossFit workouts after school, chakra control, determining chakra natures, spars and mandatory weapons training. The Kumo shinobi already had their katanas, a standard of Kumo, so they were sorted out. Shikamaru chose to specialize in using a Kyokutsu shoge, which was a double-edged blade with another hooked and curved blade coming out of its hilt. It was attached to a chain, which was only 10 feet long due to Shika's current lack of strength, and it ended in a ring. Shikamaru chose this weapon to supplement his range and theorized that he would be able to use it to immobilize and distract so that he could secure his enemies with his shadow possession jutsu. His decision was reaffirmed when Naruto pointed out that he could use the chain as a natural extension of his shadow, which Shikamaru instantly proved in practice. Hinata was the hard one to choose a weapon for, not because Naruto didn't have a good idea for her, but because her clan frowned on the use of weapons. Not to mention her natural disposition was not to hurt anyone. Yosuke worked to break her of this mentality because it would come back to bite her, or ones she loved, in the butt. It was slow progress, but the shy Hyuga heiress was starting to break out of her shell. Naruto got her started on the bow because range was the primary weakness of all Hyuga. It helped that Naruto created a storage seal on her left bicep to store the weapon, but she only ever practiced with it within the protection of the Senju compound. The past 3 months had been great getting to know Samui and Omoi. Despite Samui's not-so-subtle advances, Naruto had maintained a friendship with her and found out that there was a lot buried beneath the Ice Queen personality she projected. She was incredibly smart and loyal to a fault, and Naruto loved getting to know her softer side. Since the two Kumo shinobi had nothing else to do, they spent most of their after-school time at the Senju compound. Samui had bonded with Tsunade and Shizune, who were working on her chakra control to steer her towards medical ninjutsu. They didn't see their efforts as harmful to the village, since I would be sure to appreciate a Sannin going out of her way to bond with one of his subordinates. Omoi functioned as an extremely odd form of comedic relief. His wild tangents often made the kids laugh uproariously, and it became a game among the group to add into his elaborate chain of worst-case scenarios. Underneath a mild case of paranoia, Omoi was a good friend with a great heart. He wanted to do everything he could for the betterment of Kumo and to protect his friends, which was a sentiment Naruto could respect. Back to school, Naruto walked with Gaara and Mayuri to the front gates and saw Samui and Omoi waiting to enter with them. After the usual greetings, the trio made their way into the classroom and took up their usual seats. The other students of the class often gave Naruto and Gaara a wide berth, their minds still undecided on whether it was safe to befriend Jinchuriki or not. The village was split 70 to 30 in Naruto's favor, but 30% of people hating you for something beyond your control is still a deterrent for friendship and natural peace of mind. Naruto took the time to glance down at the brooding duck butt when Sakura and Ino came rushing in through the door. I win, Ino pig. Sakura screeched, much to the consternation of the students in the classroom. Tish, whatever forehead. Go take the seat next to Sasuke. Ino's eyes flittered up to Naruto, who shot her a smile and patted the open seat next to him. Why are you giving up so easily, pig? It's not like you, Sakura said in a slightly less screechy tone. Maybe I am sick of chasing a guy that won't give me the time of day. Look at him, he won't even look at you. What makes you think that is ever going to change? Ino asked condescendingly. This shut the pink-haired wannabe kunoichi up and Ino used the silence to climb the stairs to the back of the classroom and sit next to Naruto. She blushed when he shot her another smile, but her blush was suppressed when she saw the glare of Hinata over Naruto's shoulder. Whatever, Ino thought, it's not like she has exclusive rights to him. Ino leaned into Naruto and gave him a hug, which caused a jealous fidget from Hinata and a glare from Samui. Ino suppressed her urge to stick out her tongue at the Hyuga heiress and simply released the hug. So, Ruto, what do you think of my new outfit? Ino asked while fluttering her eyes. Instead of the usual purple two-piece and bandages, Ino was wearing a vibrant yellow battle kimono with white flowers imprinted on it. Well, it's a bit bright for a shinobi, but it suits you well. You ready to kick some butt today? Naruto asked casually. Ino pounded her fist into her other hand. You bet, I haven't joined your training sessions for nothing. I want to show you how much I have improved. Her tone was confident, bordering on bragging. Naruto laughed, haha, alright. I will be sure to watch your fight. How is your other training going? Ino lowered her tone to a whisper and leaned into Naruto. Well, Daddy is helping me. I stopped dieting completely and I have been on Lady Tsunade's meal plan. It has really helped me train better. Naruto's gigawatt smile at the information made all the discomfort of the past month worth it. That's great, Ino. I am proud of you. Keep it up. Naruto cheered her efforts in a hushed tone. Making sure that Ino didn't delay her development into a true kunoichi was one of Naruto's goals when he returned to Konoha and joined the academy. Naruto, do you think that I could train with you after school today? Hinata asked with a blush on her face. Oblivious of the emerging scowl on Ino's face, Naruto turned to Hinata. Sure thing, it would be great to have you. I made a seal arrow I think you are going to like. Hinata beamed at that bit of information. She always felt giddy inside when Naruto said something that demonstrated Naruto thought of her in his free time. She remained silent and blushed a cherry red, unable to escape her thoughts and regain control due to his smile. Anyway, Naruto, Daddy was wondering when you were going to come by the shop next. We could use some help with a batch of plants. Ino cut in to disrupt the moment between Naruto and her new rival. Wait, new rival. When did she start seeing Hinata as a rival in anything other than spars? Gaara decided to save his friend. Ino, Naruto is very busy with his duties and after-school training sessions. We will be by the shop when we have some free time, but this weekend is going to be busy. His monotone reply shredded Ino's hopes of getting Naruto on a weekend date. What could that Senju loser possibly teach you? Sasuke killed the joy of the conversation and earned glares from the whole group. Before anyone could reply, Naruto faced Sasuke casually. Oh, duck butt, I didn't even see you there. Your broody camouflage was too strong. Well, we get together and train a bunch of things. Ino, why don't you show Sasuke what you mastered last week, since we don't have a pond readily available? Ino smiled radiantly and proudly. Sure thing, Ruto. She then walked to the classroom wall and casually walked up in before hanging upside down on the ceiling from her feet. You see, Uchiha, I teach my friends actual skills that will help them in the shinobi world. Has Itachi taken the time to teach you tree walking yet? Naruto knew he shouldn't evoke the brother complex, but he had stomached the Uchiha's derisive comments for the last few months and he was fed up with it. Idiot Naruto, stop showing off to my beloved Sasuke. You will never be as good as him. There is a reason the Uchiha are the best clan in Konoha and not the Senju. Sakura screeched and the room fell silent. Every head turned to Naruto to see how he would react. For Naruto's part, he was enraged, and he had instinctively jumped to his feet. He was struggling to contain his anger and his eyes were closed in an attempt to get his emotions under control. Calming hands from Hinata, Ino and a hand on his shoulder from Gaara tempered his anger enough not to have a tree rip the pink banshee in half. After letting out a deep breath, Naruto responded to the terrified girl. Listen, Sakura, the opinion of a beyond useless little girl means jack squat to me. You are smart, I give you that, but you lack the wisdom to put your knowledge to good use. The Uchiha over there would sooner fuck you in the ass than ever breed with such a weak kunoichi. You diet, you never train, you are skin and bones and your greatest wish in this harsh world is for your beloved Sasuke to save you. Naruto disappeared in a blur of motion and had a kunai at the terrified kunoichi's neck before anyone realized he had moved. If I so wished, I could kill you in 1,000 different ways and there wouldn't be a damn thing the duck butt or you could do about it. Now go to the bathroom and change your pants, I don't feel like smelling your piss all day. Naruto resealed the kunai and walked casually back to his seat. Ino shot him a look that told him he may have gone a little too far, but Naruto didn't care. His rage was still simmering below the surface. Samui nodded and shot him. A small smile to show she approved of how he handled the situation, as did Omoi. Luckily, Haruka and Mizuki walked in and interrupted any would-be retorts. They were confused when Sakura ran out of the classroom saying that she would be back in an hour, but they shrugged it off. That afternoon, after lunch, was the reason Naruto needed to attend in person. The midterm skills assessment included an obstacle course, shuriken kunai throwing and a taijutsu spar. Even though Naruto sent clones, he was still rated highly in taijutsu. The clones always fought defensively so they wouldn't get popped when the students were practicing, but this would be the first true spar in between the students this year. Samui ended up fighting Hinata and losing to her. If she had her sword, it would be different, but the Hyuga were fearsome in taijutsu. Plus, it seemed like the Hyuga girl really didn't like her and was more than happy to use this opportunity to vent her frustrations. When Samui saw Hinata immediately glance at Naruto after being declared the winner, Samui knew it was because she liked him and Samui had been attempting to seduce him. Ino ended up fighting and trouncing Sakura. She didn't hold back as much as she normally did because she was still mad about her friend saying all that to Naruto. In addition, Ino was forced to admit that Sakura needed a wake-up call, and it was Ino's duty as her friend to provide said wake-up call. They usually fought fairly equally, but today Ino laid a beatdown on Sakura. Jab, left cross, right hook, all shots connected to the head of Sakura, and she ended up unconscious on the ground with a black eye. Shikamaru ended up fighting Gaara, which was interesting. Gaara had actually learned his family's taijutsu style, Sandstorm, which was a defensive style that camouflaged counter-attacks and wore out opponents. Shikamaru was marginally stronger and equally as lazy as Naruto remembered him being in the academy. Sadly, Gaara couldn't disable his automatic defense and Shikamaru couldn't penetrate it, so he forfeited. Omoi fought against Kiba in a decent display of taijutsu. Kiba was nearly as fast as Omoi and a lot more aggressive. Naruto saw that Omoi was landing more quality blows, but the feral dog boy was able to shake them off. Omoi, like Samui, had grown dependent on his sword and ninjutsu and was lacking in taijutsu. The Raikage would probably be beefing up taijutsu training for his academy students once he heard about this. In the end, Kiba won the match by landing a hit to Omoi's chest and knocking him out of the ring. Then all heads turned to look between Naruto and Sasuke, the battle between the Uchiha and Senju. While Naruto could care less, he did not intend on losing to Sasuke. Resentment bubbled underneath the surface whenever Naruto looked at that smug face. Naruto was able to reconcile his feelings of the past with most people, but not with Sasuke, Sakura and a few others. Thus, when the pompous duck butt taunted Naruto, any restraint was tossed out the window. Well, let's go, little Senju. You have avoided every attempt I have made to fight you. Of course, it makes sense since the Uchiha have proven to be the superior clan. Sasuke taunted from the center of the ring. Sure thing, duck butt. However, I thought you couldn't be considered a true Uchiha until you activated your Sharingan. I heard Itachi's was fully developed by the time he was your age, so what's your hold up? Naruto responded in a forced, calm tone. Whispers erupted around the ring and heightened the tension. Most of the girls believed the Sasuke would win, but Naruto's group knew differently. Samui simply wondered how much the son of the Yellow Flash was going to toy with the Uchiha before putting him out of his misery. Ino hoped Naruto would win, but she didn't want him to go overboard. Hinata just wanted the chance to see Naruto fight. Gaara sat on the sidelines, arms crossed in front of his chest, wondering how far his brother would take this before ending it. Sasuke fumed at Naruto's snide remark. It was true, nobody could be considered a true Uchiha until they awoke their Sharingan. And bring Itachi into the equation brought out Sasuke's inferiority complex. Shut it, Senju. My clan thrives while yours is on the brink of destruction. That is all the proof needed. Naruto picked earwax with his pinky before flicking it at Sasuke. Oh, yeah, that. Well, during the second and third shinobi wars, while Senjus were holding down the front lines, your oh-so-fearsome clan was on military police duty. We took our losses and died like heroes. Remind me though, how many Uchiha have been Hokage, and then take a look at 1, 2 and 4. Noof said. Mizuki looked strangely between the pair, not knowing if this was going to end well. Of course, he wanted the Uchiha to win. His master had tasked him with observing this Uchiha's development, and he could tell the boy had immense potential. Begin, Mizuki shouted before jumping back. Naruto yawned and kept his hands in his pockets, knowing that Sasuke used a defensive and reactive fighting style. If he could provoke the Uchiha into attacking, then it would be an easy win. You going to stand there all day, princess? Sasuke charged forward at high speed, well, high speeds for an academy student. Sasuke lashed out with a right straight, that was dodged, and followed it up with a sweep kick. The kick landed, but felt like he had just kicked a tree. The leg didn't budge an inch, and before Sasuke could recover from his lowered position, Naruto kneed him in the face and sent him rolling back. Sasuke recovered and wiped the blood from his nose before noticing that Naruto's hands were still in his pockets. Enraged by the fact that Naruto wasn't taking him seriously, Sasuke charged again and let loose a flurry of blows. Naruto ducked and stepped back, constantly keeping his distance from Sasuke and getting nearer to the edge of the ring. Sasuke was getting further enraged by the inability to land a blow, and he kept increasing the rate of his attacks. Naruto kept dodging the punches and blocking the kicks, all the while guiding the fight. Finally, he noticed that he was next to the edge of the ring. Sasuke attempted a roundhouse kick after whiffing on a left hook, and he saw his foot swinging around at Naruto's head level. He saw that the Senju could no longer dodge backwards, and he knew this blow would win him the fight. Naruto ducked under the leg, spun around to Sasuke's back, and with his back to Sasuke launched a rear kick into Sasuke's butt. The off-balance Uchiha fell forward and collapsed in a heap outside of the ring. As the fight was going on, the fangirls were getting more and more subdued. Their cheers quieter and their anxiety became more prevalent. They all saw that Naruto still had his hands in his pockets and Sasuke hadn't landed a single blow. Then they watched horrified as Sasuke was sent sprawling to the ground outside of the ring. While the fangirls moaned, those that knew Naruto simply smirked. He didn't go overboard and physically injure the Uchiha, no, he did something far worse. He injured the Uchiha's inflated pride. Naruto simply walked out of the ring after Mizuki declared him the winner and shot a small, genuine smile at his group of friends. Behind him, an enraged Sasuke had jumped to his feet. He began stomping toward Naruto and shouting at him. Oi, Senju, that wasn't a real fight. You will fight me, damn you. Sasuke's expression was the embodiment of rage as Naruto continued to ignore him. Just like the Senju, walk away you little bitch. Walk back to your granny. Naruto chose to continue ignoring Sasuke, knowing nothing good would come from succumbing to his provocations. Out of respect for your mother, who is my mom's best friend, I am going to pretend like you didn't say that. If I fight you, Sasuke, you would be a broken mess on the ground. I didn't want that, and Iruka-sensei wouldn't want that either. So, shut your mouth and take your loss. Iruka noticed that Sasuke was about to lash out and quickly dashed over to him to prevent the situation from escalating. With a firm hand on his shoulder, Iruka guided Sasuke to the nurse's office to get his broken nose treated. Class was dismissed after that, and the village would be privy to a fresh round of gossip about the Senju humiliating the Uchiha. There was a counter-story saying the Senju cheated, but that only came from the Sasuke fan club, so nobody took that side of the story seriously. Naruto and his group went for an additional training session after school that day. Since Naruto had to work out his subdued rage, he trained for longer than usual. After dinner, he went to the Senju Gardens to meditate, play with nature energy and get his mind right. He got into a meditative trance and lost track of time as the sun set over Konoha. At some point in his meditative trance, Naruto slipped into sage mode and his senses spread out over the village. Unlike the past, the village was not tainted by overwhelming hate. It was still there, but it wasn't necessarily directed at him and it actually felt peaceful within the walls of Konoha. He felt the surrounding forests, the animals, the villagers and all of the natural energy that hung around them. It was all going well until he felt a source of overwhelming sorrow and rage. He focused on the point that stood out among the rest of the village and honed in on it. Much like the Byakugan can see everything, but the user can miss something when they aren't looking for it, sensing in sage mode can pick everything up, but unless you focus on a certain thing, it is all jumbled together. Now, Naruto's senses were on high alert, and he was focusing in on the Hyuga compound. He could sense life sources being snuffed out by one person that was overcome with grief and rage. Naruto jumped to his feet and whispered, "Oh, shit." Naruto darted into the Senju compound to get Tsunade, the only person that would be able to help in this situation. She jumped when he ran into her office, and she immediately noticed something was wrong. But before that, she needed to know something. "Naruto, what happened to you?" Tsunade asked, clearly shocked by his changes. "Now is not the time, mama. Hizashi has lost it. We need to go now." Naruto yelled, completely ignoring what his mother asked. Tsunade, sensing the urgency in his tone, shelved the topic of Naruto's changes and followed him out of the Senju compound. On the trip over to the Hyuga compound, Naruto noticed that no alarms had gone off yet and nobody knew what was going on. He forced the familiar nature chakra to his legs and blurred forward, leaving Tsunade to catch up to him. Naruto jumped the fence into the Hyuga compound and darted toward the source of the negative emotions. Nothing looked amiss outside, but as Naruto entered the main house that became a different story. The Hyuga that were in the common area were all dead. It was eerie to see them all slumped over with blood trickling out of their mouths and ears. The gentle fist was terrifying, but Naruto would come to appreciate the fact that he didn't walk in on a bloodbath. Naruto was 30 seconds or so ahead of Tsunade and he darted into the clan head's part of the main house. He ran straight through the rice paper door that was separating him from the remaining life sources and instantly processed the situation. Instead of talking, Naruto kicked Hizashi through a couple of the rice paper walls until he hit the hard outer wall of the Hyuga main house. Not wanting to kill Hizashi without hearing the story, Naruto made a hand signal to take the fight elsewhere. Hizashi, knowing that he couldn't betray Naruto, immediately rose to his feet and darted off. Tsunade was behind Naruto, and she was cursing how fast the brat was. Senjutsu was a truly unfair advantage. She followed his path of destruction and wound up in Hiyashi's room and saw him injured and in a protective position in front of his daughters. There was blood trickling from the corners of his mouth, and it was clear that he was in a lot of pain. Tsunade immediately went into medic mode and started healing Hizashi, hoping that Naruto could handle himself against Hizashi. Naruto pursued Hizashi out toward the outskirts of the village and the two stopped and faced each other. Hizashi had blood spattering his white robes and wore a battle-weary look on his face. It was clear to Naruto that his rage was subsiding, and the consequences of his actions were catching up with him. I am sorry, Naruto," Hizashi said wearily. Naruto remained in a battle-ready posture, but his enhanced senses in sage mode told him that he had nothing to fear from this man. "Slow down and tell me what happened, Hizashi." Hizashi took a deep breath before meeting Naruto's eyes with his firm gaze. Elder Otaru set his son to spar against Neji. Neji beat him in a spar and Otaru took exception to it and tried to activate Neji's caged bird seal. Neji didn't notice and thus didn't react, which enraged the elder. He ordered the guards to detain Neji and then began punishing him physically for defying the main family. "My boy is lying half dead in a cell because that bastard couldn't stand losing to a branch member." They gave him 40 lashes, allowed Oteo, Otaru's son, to use Neji as a training dummy and then threw him in a cell. They were discussing further punishment when I overheard the conversation. They denied me visiting rites and I snapped. I wasn't going to stand by and let them do that to my son. I killed everyone, Naruto. The whole main family is dead aside from Hanabi and Hinata. I couldn't bring myself to kill them. I am sorry that your plan didn't work out. Hizashi sounded remorseful but resolved. Naruto watched on, completely stunned. He was so close to erasing the cursed seal from existence and this happens. Talk about a grenade in the timeline. Well, shit. At least you didn't kill Hizashi. Hizashi looked up, believing that he had killed the man. It was then that he noticed Naruto was still covered in sage markings. How do you know that? Hizashi's voice had a pleading edge to it. Well, I think I am in sage mode right now. That was how I sensed you killing your clan. I can feel Hizashi's life force and it is faint, but Tsunade is there with him. He should pull through. Naruto replied, still in serious mode. His mind working a mile a minute to decide what to do. Well, thank Kami for that. I really didn't want to kill my brother, but he wouldn't let me leave. Hizashi answered, sounding like a weight had been removed from his chest. Naruto nodded, it was a small blessing, before responding. Look, Hizashi, the only option you have is missing Nin. If you will accept a mission for me, I have a long-term mission for you. If you complete it, I will talk about getting you a pardon from the Fire Daimyo. A life and purpose returned to Hizashi's eyes. I am listening, Naruto Senju. Alright, well, you will probably be approached by an organization calling themselves Akatsuki. I want you to infiltrate this organization and become my inside man. I will find a way to communicate with you, but this is the best I can think up on such short notice. Naruto answered as he began pulling out seal tags and a brush. Hizashi contemplated the offer and watched the young blonde work. Well, it isn't like I have much else to do. Naruto finished up writing out a couple seal tags and handed them to Hizashi. Go to Tazuna in Wave Country. Tell him Naruto said that you could use the Senju compound. Use the first tag to kill your scent. Naruto paused here, cursed and then continued. Don't use the second tag until you get a new change of clothes. Put the second tag on the chest over your new clothes, it will hide your chakra signature. The third tag is a beacon tag. Carry it with you and I will be able to find you when I need to. Why are you helping me, Naruto? I am a murderer. Hizashi asked. Because, in your position, I probably would have done the same. Naruto answered. Go to my compound in Wave, stock up and try to survive. The Akatsuki are not a nice bunch, but I am confident they will approach you at some point. Sell them on the act that you are a bad guy, and they will let you in. I am taking steps to thwart them already, but they are strong. I will do this for you, on my honor as a father. In return, please care for Neji and remove the seals from my family. Hizashi implored Naruto as he bowed deeply. I already planned on doing that. Okay, Hizashi, it is time to incapacitate me. Don't worry, I will heal up just fine, but the girls saw me chase you. Naruto said in a deadly serious tone as his sage mode faded. Hizashi looked hesitant at first, but when he saw the firm resolve in Naruto's eyes, he did what needed to be done. Hizashi used an old Anbu exit out of the village and began his life as a missing nin, leaving Naruto crumpled on the ground. As he lay there, he couldn't help but wonder how much this was going to change the future course of events. His mind couldn't begin to calculate all of the changes this would inspire. Well, fuck it, he would just have to play it by ear like everyone else. Naruto limped his way back to the Hyuga compound and saw that it was surrounded by Anbu and Uchiha police. He was stopped by a weasel-masked Anbu and 2 Hyuga guards. Halt, you are not allowed to enter the premise by order of the Hokage. Weasel stated calmly. Naruto shot a look at him and couldn't stop a fond smile from finding its way onto his lips. Oh, Weasel, my apologies. I was actually the first person on site, and I am returning from my fight with Hizashi Hyuga. Is my mother still inside? Itachi was taken aback by the information. This boy was an academy student, and he survived a fight against Hizashi. Your mother took Hizashi Hyuga to the hospital. If you were first on scene, you will need to come with me. Naruto shrugged in response. Fine by me. One thing, please make sure that Neji Hyuga is recovered from the Hyuga cells and taken to the hospital. It was the reason that this incident even happened. The 2 Hyuga guards looked down at their feet in shame before Naruto addressed them again. Look, you two, there are no remaining main house members to issue you orders. Do as I say, and I will help your clan be free of that cursed seal. The two men looked shocked at the young boy's audacious statement, but they bowed before going to see if Neji was still in the Hyuga's prison. Weasel watched the young boy with a high level of interest. This boy was unusual in a good way, and he had Weasel's full attention. Suddenly, the Hokage telling him to take a genin squad didn't sound so bad. Very well, Lord Senju, I believe it is time for us to go see the Hokage. Weasel stated blandly. Hiruzen Sarutobi was having a bad day, a very bad day. There was no other way to put it when 47 members of a clan end up dead and one is in the ICU. Even worse, he had no idea why anyone would possibly do this, and he didn't have the list of casualties yet to tell him who did it. He felt like he would never escape this office, towers of paper by day and terrible news by night. Hiruzen was just lighting his pipe when he felt the familiar surge of chakra that meant a shunshin was imminent. Moments later, Weasel was kneeling in front of the Hokage while Naruto just stared at him with a blank look. Report, Weasel. The Hokage stated forcefully. I was guarding the Hyuga compound when Naruto Senju attempted to gain entry. After talking to him, he was first on scene and fought off Hizashi Hyuga before he was able to finish of the clan head and his daughters. Weasel reported with a neutral tone. Hiruzen's pipe clattered to his desk as he stared at Naruto in shock. Wha? How? Please explain. Naruto simply nodded. Lord Hokage, I was doing an evening round of meditation and fell into a trance. During that trance, I activated Sage Mode for the first time, and I was able to sense all of Konoha. As I was exploring this new ability, I felt the loss of life forces within the Hyuga compound. I notified my clan head, and we immediately went to investigate. Thanks to my Sage Mode, I was able to beat Tsunade to the Hyuga estate. I went directly to where I felt the battle and saw Hizashi standing over Hiyashi, Hinata and Hanabi. I immediately intervened by kicking Hizashi out of the main house and he fled. I caught him near the northwestern wall, and we engaged in another fight. This time, he was ready for me, and my Sage Mode ran out. With the loss of natural energy, I was unable to keep up with him. He disabled me and shared the reason why he did this. Both members in the office looked wide-eyed at the young boy in front of them. Hizashi was the strongest Hyuga in the village and he was bordering on S rank. Furthermore, he claims that he can enter Sage Mode at this young age, which would make him a more prolific sage than Jiraiya. The implications of this were staggering. Hiruzen recomposed himself and flared his chakra in a set pattern, which seemed to give the young Senju a headache. You called, Hokage-sama. The leader of 4 Anbu said. He was wearing the dog mask. Yes, dog, please set out immediately to track and capture Hizashi Hyuga. His last known location was in the northwest section of Konoha near the wall. The Anbu squad disappeared and Hiruzen returned his attention to Naruto. Now, Naruto, while the battle sounds like an amazing story, could you tell me more about your conversation with Hizashi? Naruto nodded before he closed the Hokage's window, weaved through seals and set up a privacy barrier. He ignored the strange looks from the pair and turned back to face the Hokage. Can Weasel be trusted with sensitive information? Hiruzen nodded. Very well, I have been in communication with Hizashi Hyuga about creating a counter to the caged bird seal. I accepted a job from him to create a safe counter seal and an alternative dujutsu protection. He told me that Hiyashi agreed to use it if we were able to create a safe alternative. Please hold your questions until the end. In an attempt to test one aspect of my seal, I created a disabling function for the prisoner portion of the cursed seal. I gave Hizashi 2 copies to test its effectiveness, which worked well. Evidently, one of the Hyuga elders found out and beat his son Neji half to death for a minor offense. Hizashi heard that they planned to execute him, which made him snap. Hizashi killed the whole main family before I was able to intervene. I stopped him before he could land a killing blow on Hiyashi, which he actually thanked me for. That was the extent of our conversation. Naruto maintained an even tone and eye contact as he told his story. Sure, he may have embellished a bit, but it was essentially the truth. Hiruzen sat back in his chair and rubbed his temples before he picked his pipe up off the floor. After taking a calming puff, Hiruzen spoke. Thank you for intervening, Naruto. However, I don't know why you thought it would be okay to work on the Hyuga's seal without proper authorization. It was a request from one clan to another. I was given source material by the Hyuga family. Such matters do not require authorization from the Hokage as they fall under clan business. Naruto replied neutrally, stumping Hiruzen's attempt to chastise him. Hiruzen sighed, he had no leg to stand on and he wasn't going to take on Tsunade and the fire daimyo over this. Okay, Naruto. So, this whole thing happened because a Hyuga elder was going to kill Neji. Did he provide any inclination of where he may go? Naruto paused to think here, should he mislead them? No, the old monkey was still spry enough to catch him in a lie. No, Lord Hokage. Hiruzen sighed and decided to try and gain more information on the boy. Well, Naruto, could you explain how you were able to enter Sage mode without a summoning contract? The only one that had been able to do this before was Hashirama Senju. Contemporary knowledge says that Sage arts require a summoning medium to learn to channel the natural energy. Naruto gave the Hokage a deadpan stare. Do you want him to know? He nodded his head toward Weasel, who was standing there observing impassively. Hiruzen chuckled, yes, he can know. I am planning on naming him my successor soon. Naruto sighed, not really wanting to tell more people than he needed to. Well, old man, you answered your own question. If Hashirama could do it and he had Mokuden, then why wouldn't I be able to do it if I also had Mokuden? I have been studying his notes and journal for years. I have been able to sense and feel nature energy since I was 6. I have been meditating and playing with nature energy for an equally long amount of time. The only reason I never took it into my own coils was because I knew it was dangerous. Furthermore, natural energy is the essential missing element of Mokuden. Weasel gave the first signs of emotion as Naruto could sense shock and disbelief out of him. The Hokage was also quite stunned by the statement and had nothing to refute it. After thinking about it for a minute, Hiruzen spoke. Well, I will have to notify the summons. This is quite unexpected, and I am sure they would like to know. I will also have to call Jiraiya back to train you in the sage arts. Naruto interrupted the Hokage, not needing Jiraiya to be involved. No need for that, let him come back when he is ready. His form of senjutsu is different from what I do, I am quite certain of that after reading my father's notes. Naruto, your father wasn't a sage. Hiruzen retorted. No, but he had started his sage training. If he didn't become Hokage, he would have completed it. He incorporated senjutsu into some of his later seals, having had a basic understanding of it. Quite frankly, Lord Hokage, Jiraiya would not be an effective teacher for me any longer. Naruto shot back, drawing a chuckle out of Weasel. You are quite interesting, Naruto Senju. No wonder you were able to beat my little brother with no hands. Tell me, if you know you have Mokuden, what are your elemental affinities? Weasel entered the conversation for the first time. Wind, water and earth. Naruto answered blandly. Interesting. Was the only thing Weasel said before going quiet. That will be all for tonight, Naruto. If you could write a report of tonight's events, have your grandmother show you how, I would appreciate it. Weasel, please collect the clan heads for an emergency council meeting. You may gather Shizune instead of Tsunade since she will be busy at the hospital. Hiruzen stated in a manner that closed the conversation. I will let sis know for you, Weasel. Good night, Lord Hokage. With that, Naruto dropped the privacy barrier and used Shunshin to vacate the Hokage's office. The two remaining in the Hokage's office looked at each other, before Hiruzen spoke. Before you leave, what is your assessment of the boy? Very interesting. If he has the power of the first, then he will become a monster. He does seem far too mature for his age though. Weasel conceded. Itachi, that doesn't begin to describe it. That boy went through a lot and Inoichi has been having sessions with him. He won't tell me much, but he does say the boy will be loyal to the village to honor his father and mother. Hiruzen sounded tired of thinking about Naruto. With respect, Lord Hokage, could anyone blame the child for leaving? I was on his detail once or twice before we lost him. I can tell you that even I would have preferred to leave rather than take that treatment. Itachi responded. So, you're on his side too. Hiruzen sounded betrayed. What's right is right and what's wrong is wrong. Does a subordinate betray his master by indulging in something he knows to be wrong, or does he betray his master by not informing him that he is doing something wrong? Itachi responded. Damn it, Itachi. I am sick and tired of having it shoved in my face. Hiruzen's angry reply let Itachi know that it was not appropriate to keep poking the bear. With respect, Lord Hokage, neither he nor I shoved anything in your face. I will take the boy on my genin team, since it is an accepted prerequisite for a Hokage to have led a genin team. I think it will be most interesting to instruct someone like him. You don't want to teach your brother. Hiruzen retorted with a raised eyebrow. My brother clan learned the clan jutsu from clan members. It could also be seen as a conflict of interest. Why not make Kakashi step up? Itachi offered, which made Hiruzen think a bit. I will think on it. Now, go convene the council please. Time skip, graduation day. In the 3 months since the Hyuga massacre, Konoha went through many changes. The shocking news rampaged through Konoha like a wildfire, and it left the Hyuga clan in tatters. The Hokage turned the clan request into a full commission from Konoha, and Naruto finished the counter seal in 3 weeks. Unfortunately, Hizashi was in a coma from his injuries and Hinata was the clan representative. She immediately accepted Naruto's counterseal and new Dujutsu protection, and within a month of the massacre all Hyuga were freed from the caged bird seal. After the seal was removed, branch members immediately stepped forward to help get the clan back on track. They acknowledged Hinata as the interim head but insisted that there would be a clan vote when Hizashi woke up. Hizashi possessed a lot of knowledge that the branch family needed if they were to assume control of the Hyuga assets. That alone is pretty much the only reason that branch family was playing nice. It didn't hurt that they knew Hinata always wanted to be rid of the seal and they trusted her not to abuse their trust. After seeing the Dojutsu protection seal Naruto created, the Uchiha commissioned a similar protection seal. Thus, the Senjus now had the Hyuga in their pocket and Uchiha in their debt. In addition, the Yamanaka were extremely partial to Naruto, who had been coming to the store and helping them with their plant stock. Naruto didn't mind because he wanted to spend time with Ino, and Inoichi had already approved. Speaking of Inoichi, he had continued to monitor Naruto closely. Multiple personality disorder had the potential to snowball out of control rapidly, but Naruto's method of dealing with it was keeping it at bay for the time being. Inoichi had essentially demanded that each personality remain within the seal for at least 1 day of the week. He feared true separation of the personalities would cause lasting damage to Naruto's core Edo. When he laid out his fears to Naruto, Rias, Yosuke and Hikari, they all agreed to try it and see if it made things better. At school, Naruto claimed the top spot in his class. This was in large part due to his advanced knowledge as a result of his training by Tsunade and having been through the courses already, but to Naruto's chagrin he still had to study the useless topics. His group made this more enjoyable, but even they found it boring. They all admitted that they learned for more useful material in their after-school training sessions. Speaking of those sessions, Samui had somehow wormed her way into Naruto's heart. It started as Naruto poking fun at her in attempt to get through her outer walls and find the gooey insides. It turned into Samui breaking the personal bubble whenever Gaara wasn't around. While Naruto kept it at kissing, Samui had gotten more handsy as the semester came to a close. Instead of pushing her away, Naruto accepted her affections since he could feel she was being genuine rather than just doing it for an unknown mission. Ino was a mess for these 3 months. She joined the training sessions as well and could easily see how close Naruto was with Samui. She pouted every time she saw them flirting, but Ino was never one to be outdone easily. The intrepid 12 almost 13-year-old stepped up her own flirt game, which Naruto thought was completely cute. Ino knew how to flaunt it, but she turned tomato red every single time Naruto rose to the occasion and threw it back at her twice as hard. Shikamaru had made a deal with Naruto early on that for every physical workout he did, Naruto owed him a game of shogi or chess. They split the game 60-40 in Shikamaru's favor, but Naruto was the only challenge he had outside of the Nara clan. Shikamaru showed his father his progress on the Kyokutsu Shoge and the Nara clan head was extremely intrigued with the weapon. He had extended the chain from 10 to 12 feet long and Naruto had added some reinforcement seals along the chain to make it less likely to break. Overall, the lazy Nara had come a long way in 6 months under the tutelage of Naruto and the others in the study group. Hinata was a mess. The shy heiress skipped multiple days of school in order to perform her clan duties. While she was relieved that Naruto and Tsunade were able to remove the caged bird seal, her clan duties drained her. She was often tired and lethargic and rarely had time to join the training sessions. Naruto went out of his way to spend time with his friend at the Hyuga compound and drag her out to dinner or any other form of escape he could. Hizashi was in a coma after significant damage to his heart and liver. Hizashi had done a number on him, and Tsunade worked diligently to keep him alive. She thought he would be waking up soon, but at this point it was up to Hizashi. Hinata and Hanabi visited him almost every day, but he was 3 months into a coma. Hinata had approved a risky procedure by Tsunade to wake him up in a more forceful manner, and that was scheduled to happen soon. As the school year came to a close and graduation neared, Naruto kept a closer eye on Mizuki. He couldn't simply kill him without just cause, but Naruto was confident the slime ball would make his move soon. The teacher's assistant had the same chip on his shoulder toward Naruto as he did last go around, but he was better at concealing his emotions due to fear of Tsunade. Naruto had reminded Tsunade about Mizuki and she said she trusted him to keep the snake's wannabe follower in check. Rather than rewrite the graduation test, let's leave it at Naruto aced it. The test was overly simple, and Naruto used shadow clones as a substitute for the regular clone. That was approved ahead of time by Iruka and the Hokage, especially after Naruto explained that his chakra was far too dense for a normal, E-rank jutsu. Naruto's performance during the test ignited Sasuke's inferiority complex and caused the Uchiha to scowl at Naruto for the whole day. Sasuke had attempted to force his way into Naruto's training group, but after finally allowing the Uchiha to tag along, the whole group voted not to let him come again. The sense of self-entitlement and superiority that oozed off the Uchiha was far too troublesome, according to Shikamaru. Even Ino was fed up with the Uchiha's attitude, which actually caused a deeper rift between her and Sakura. Much to Naruto's consternation, Sakura didn't catch Naruto's warning about being a useless kunoichi if she didn't get her act together. She was as much of a useless fangirl as she was in canon. Gaara remained as stoic as ever for the whole semester. He was polite and answered people's questions, but when it came to Sasuke and Sakura, the old Gaara's bloodlust would come out. It scared the crap out of a good portion of the class, but it was only when those two got particularly annoying. As far as his studies, he enjoyed his time at the Senju compound. In addition to his magnet release, Gaara had actually learned a few earth jutsu from Naruto. Naruto also gave him the earth manipulation exercises that Hashirama Senju used, which were far more advanced and beneficial than the standard exercises. After class was dismissed and the Hishiate were issued, Naruto took his group out to eat at the Akamichi barbecue. One of his shadow clones observing Mizuki popped and relayed some interesting information to him. A couple minutes later, Kiba ran up on the group and asked if he could join their graduation celebration. Naruto extended an invite, and nobody seemed to have a problem with it, except Samui, but Naruto wrapped an arm around her shoulders, and she instantly relented. After the group got sat down at the table, and Samui was positioned far away from the leering dog boy, the group ordered their food and broke into a conversation. "So, Hinata, your dad's surgery is tomorrow, right?" Ino asked, concerned for her friend. Everyone looked sympathetically at the heiress, and the attention caused her to blush and nod. "Yes, father will be having his surgery tomorrow. Lady Tsunade said that it is worth the risk, and she should be able to wake father up." Hinata managed 2 full sentences without stuttering, which earned her a comforting hand squeeze from Naruto. "Want us to be there with you?" Naruto asked, truly concerned for his friend. No thanks. Father wouldn't appreciate me sharing his personal business with non-clan members. I will let you know how it goes though, Naruto. I really appreciate all you have done to help me get through this." Through her blush, she shot a genuine smile at Naruto. The soft look in her eyes reminded him of the times they would cuddle in bed and lose themselves in each other's arms. "Hinata, it may not be my place to say, but we will be praying for your father as well. It was truly tragic what happened to him. If you ever need anything from us, you only need but ask." Samui said. She tried to force down her jealousy at Naruto grabbing Hinata's hand, but it was proving difficult for her. I appreciate that, Samui. You and Omoi have been very kind throughout your stay. When will you be heading back to Kumo?" Hinata asked. Samui looked sad, so Omoi hopped into the conversation to answer for her. We will be leaving on Sunday. Lord Raikage will be bringing the Konoha Genin back here and picking us up. Yes, father is due to return here with the exchange students this weekend as well. Gaara informed the group. Hey, dude, what is it like having your dad be your cage? Kiba asked as the new member of the group. Gaara looked at him impassively. It is what you would expect. There is a lot of pressure from my village to meet their expectations. My father's duties make it hard for him to spend time with us, but he has been doing an adequate job so far. Damn, so not all it's hyped up to be, huh? Oh well, Samui, would you like to go on a date tomorrow, since you are leaving on Sunday? I could show you parts of Konoha you've never seen before. The way Kiba switched was extremely greasy and drew odd looks from the girls in the group and made Samui cuddle into Naruto. Down boy, she it too much for you to handle. Naruto shot Kiba down before he could take it too far, which earned him a scowl from Kiba and a laugh from the group. The food came and Shikamaru sighed wearily. After prompting from the group, he opened up. Well, it's troublesome, but since it is the end of the year, Choji will be coming back. He is my best friend and I just thought about how much I have missed my friendly and pleasantly plump friend. I know what you mean, Shika, Omoi and I have missed our friends Karui and Yugito quite a bit. Take comfort in knowing that you will see them soon. Samui comforted Shikamaru, who had a pretty cool relationship with the icy blonde. What about you Gaara, did you enjoy your time here or did you miss your siblings? Ino asked. Well, I found this study group to be quite nice. I will say that your academy could use some work, but I learned far more training with each of you than I would have learned back home. Also, I did miss my siblings, but I have a brother sitting right next to me that made it worth it. Gaara answered Ino's question and drew oohs and ahs from the girls at the table. Yeah, do you think Temari and Kankuro will come to pick you up? Naruto asked, hoping to see Temari again. I do not know, brother. If sister comes, I recommend hiding the two blondes that have been all over you. It would be a bad idea to risk international cooperation over a cat fight. Gaara delivered his joke in monotone, but everyone laughed at it, except Naruto who began sweating. The sun-kissed blonde rubbed the back of his neck nervously while avoiding the piercing gazes of Ino, Hinata and Samui. It is not my fault, Gaara. Kami blessed me by putting too many amazing women in my life. Samui bonked Naruto on the head and Ino pouted. Luckily Kiba spoke up and got Naruto off the hook. Well, ladies, if that knucklehead can't appreciate you, this alpha can. Samui scoffed and Ino threw a piece of meat that hit Kiba in his face. Akamaru forced his way out of Kiba's jacket and ate the piece of meat off of his face, which earned a round of laughs from the group and a pet from Hinata. The rest of the lunch went well, and Kiba asked if he could join them for their last training session. Naruto agreed to it and nobody else had anything to say about it. At the Senju compound, training continued as usual until Kiba asked Naruto if he could borrow the Forbidden Scroll. Naruto played it off like it wasn't a big deal and went inside. He left a message for Tsunade before taking a master scroll that was empty and writing forbidden on the outside of it. He wrote a bogus jutsus in the scroll and made it kind of looked official, but it would definitely be good enough to fool Kiba. Naruto wrote in jutsus like his sexy no jutsu, harem no jutsu, and just for kicks he threw in playing possum jutsu. He also threw 10 remote detonation explosive tags into the seam of the scroll. Naruto returned to the training session and handed the scroll to Kiba, who immediately took it and ran off. After giving a short explanation to Yosuke and saying goodbye to his friends, he followed Kiba. The Inuzuka Genin was walking casually through the village with a smug smirk on his face. Naruto wondered how Mizuki had manipulated him, but he supposed he would find out soon enough. Flashbacks of Naruto's encounter with Mizuki in his previous life rolled through his mind as he followed Kiba. He remembered the pain of discovering why the village hated him, the peak of his self-loathing, and all of the negative emotions that made him resent the fox, which wound up making for a rocky start between Biju and Jinchuriki. Naruto also remembered Iruka standing up for him in the triumphant moment he got his Hishiate, which put a smile on his face. He probably should have been nicer to Iruka this go around, but it was a different timeline and Naruto no longer needed Iruka as a parental figure. He would make efforts later on to bond with the scarred teacher. Eventually, Kiba made it into the familiar spot in the woods near the old rundown cabin that Naruto remembered. He spread his senses out and knew that Mizuki was nowhere close, so Naruto parked himself in a tree and watched over Kiba. He needed to work overtime to suppress his laughter as Kiba attempted to learn the sexy no jutsu. Of course, Naruto wrote in the scroll that it was an actual transformation, and he heard Kiba muttering about how he would finally be able to touch some tits. It was an absolute struggle not to fall out of the tree laughing or give away his position, but somehow Naruto hung on long enough. Kiba's attempts at the ultimate anti-pervert jutsu that could incapacitate legendary male shinobi were absolutely pitiful. Naruto remembered all of the adult magazines he had swiped to make a realistic, at least visually, female form. Later in his life, when he learned about the true beauty of women, Naruto was actually able to refine the jutsu further and gave himself a female form. Thinking back on it, that was probably why Hikari, who looked like the younger and more innocent version of his original sexy jutsu, and Rias took those forms for their personalities. As Kiba created one ugly woman after another, making Akamaru whimper, time dragged on and eventually Naruto sensed Mizuki. He readied himself and suppressed his aura further to make sure he wouldn't be detected. As Mizuki entered the clearing, he faceplanted when Kiba, in an uglier female form of his mother, except fat and naked, turned around. The transformation puffed out in chakra smoke as Kiba puffed out his chest and proudly proclaimed, "I did it, Mizuki-sensei. I was able to do an actual transformation. So, since I learned an advanced technique from the scroll, you will make sure Hinata is on my team, right?" Ah, so that was Mizuki's angle this time. Of course, Dog Boy always had a red rocket for Hinata, but there was no way Naruto was going to let that happen. Naruto debated on how he should handle Mizuki. After the prison break last time around, Naruto decided to kill him. However, he would need Mizuki to spout off at the mouth and give up evidence that Kiba heard if that was going to be an option. Sure, Kiba, you can be on the Hyuga girls' team. Now, give me the forbidden scroll, Mizuki said in a slippery manner. But, sensei, this is Naruto's family scroll. I told him that I would give it back. Kiba asked with a confused look on his face, and Akamaru whimpered. Mizuki snarled, "Look, Dog Boy, hand over the scroll. I am in a bit of a rush." Kiba was an idiot, but he had sharp instincts and he knew something wasn't right now. He positioned the scroll protectively on his back. "Look, sensei, if you want the scroll, you can ask the senjus. I gave Naruto my word that I would bring the scroll back tonight after I completed this exercise." Naruto appreciated the Inuzuka's loyalty. It was Kiba's redeeming quality, even if he did take the wrong side for the latter part of the war. He saw Mizuki unbuckling one of his Fuma shuriken and braced himself to intervene. "No, Mutt, you will die here, and I will take the scroll." Mizuki snarled as he had his Fuma shuriken in hand. That was Naruto's cue to intervene. He didn't want Kiba getting hurt over his plans. Naruto appeared in a water shunshin in front of Kiba, arms crossed in front of his chest and a glare fixed on Mizuki. "And why do you want the forbidden scroll of seals so bad, Mizuki? I would call you a sensei, but that would imply that you actually taught me something. So, I don't think you qualify." Well, if the Kyuubi brat itself didn't decide to join the slaughter. "I am actually glad you are here since I have unfinished business with the fox. Did you know that I was one of the people in that mob you ran away from? My uncle brought me with him, and it was a great form of entertainment. Your screams were such music to the mob's ears." Mizuki began cackling madly, making Kiba shake a bit in fear, and Naruto just got agitated. "Figures, you would be proud of beating up on a 4-year-old child. Yet, I still managed to dupe you all and escape. Sucks to be you, you are a sad, lonely, pathetic piece of shit. So, why do you want my family's scroll so bad?" Naruto forced his tone to remain upbeat in an effort to taunt Mizuki. Mizuki cackled again. "Dead kids don't need to concern themselves with adult stuff. I will take your scroll and go somewhere that I can be truly powerful. After I kill you too, of course." Naruto smirked. Would this place happen to have a lot of snakes and encourage pedophilia? Mizuki's cackle halted and his face contorted in rage. "Don't you dare speak of Lord Orochimaru as such a way. I will kill you for you slight against my master." Naruto created a shadow clone that took Kiba and ran off into the forest. Mizuki threw his first Fuma Shuriken at the duo, but Naruto intercepted it with an earth wall jutsu that he spat out of his mouth. Mizuki looked at the shuriken stuck in the wall of mud and turned his attention back on Naruto. Fine, I guess I will take my time killing the demon first. Then I will hunt down the mud and get my scroll. Mizuki snarled before he lunged at Naruto with a kunai. Naruto unsealed his wakizashi from his left wrist and countered the blow before he shot a leg out at Mizuki. The leg connected with Mizuki's chest and sent him rolling backwards, ending with Mizuki standing to his feet and coughing a bit. Mizuki eyed the new weapon and decided to take a more cautious approach. The kid was much younger than himself, but he was trained by a Sannin. Even if it was the weakest one, it was still a Sannin. Plus, Mizuki noticed he was only 2 or so inches taller than the boy, which meant he didn't have a tremendous advantage in the reach department. He also noticed the boy looked completely calm, as if this fight wouldn't even test him. Deciding on his course of action, Mizuki took out his second Fuma Shuriken. You know, Fuma Shuriken are cool and all, but are you just a one-trick pony? Naruto asked, honestly not remembering if Mizuki had any cool jutsu. Mizuki snarled at the slight to his skills and threw the shuriken before weaving through 5 hand signs and whispering a jutsu. Naruto saw the hand signs and he saw a second shuriken form in the shadow of the first. Once again, Naruto stomped his foot on the ground and called out, Earth Style, Mud Wall, which easily stopped the 2 shuriken. As the shuriken impacted, Mizuki dashed around the side of the mud wall and swiped at Naruto with his kunai, which turned the Naruto clone into a puff of smoke. As Naruto saw his clone go up in smoke, he was positioned immediately behind Mizuki. Rather than an overextended slash, Naruto went for a quick thrust of the wakizashi. Mizuki was briefly stunned by the puff of smoke, but he heard movement behind him and turned his body to see the glint of cold, polished steel heading for his neck. He reflexively brought his kunai arm up to deflect the blow, but he was late, and it shifted the blade's trajectory into his left eye. Naruto had enough momentum in the thrust that the hilt of the blade smacked up against Mikuzu's nose and eye socket. Naruto released the blade and was instantly greeted by Kiba running out of his hiding spot. Dude, Naruto, are you alright? Kiba asked frantically while Akamaru whimpered and barked. Naruto sighed, looked at the immobile form of Mizuki and back at Kiba. Yeah, Kiba, I am fine. I meant to incapacitate him, but he deflected my blow into his eye. That was a lie, but he didn't want the Hokage think that he was a practiced killer at this point. Kiba slapped a supportive arm on Naruto's shoulder and made eye contact with him. Naruto could tell that Kiba was freaked out and overwhelmed by the situation, but he was trying to hold it together for Naruto. Naruto shot him a weak smile and Kiba gave him a toothy grin. Thanks man, you saved my life. I owe you one, and an Inuzuka always repays loyalty. Kiba said confidently. Sure thing, Kiba, you too Akamaru. Let's get this cleaned up. We will have to let the Hokage know. Naruto said, but he was surprised by a voice that he hadn't sensed. There will be no need for that, Lord Senju. We will take it from here. Is that the forbidden scroll your family is in possession of? Weasel asked as he had recently arrived on scene. Naruto chuckled, nah, it is a dummy scroll I made when Kiba told me about his extra test to get the forbidden scroll my father made. I instantly knew something was up and decided to give Kiba a fake and find out what was going on. Kiba's mouth fell open and he pointed openly at Naruto while Akamaru whimpered in shame. Why you bastard. So, the sexy no jutsu was fake. Naruto flipped casually through a couple hand signs and called out, sexy no jutsu. A beautiful blonde with twin pigtails in a provocative tank top and jean shorts that were far too short puffed into existence. The girl gave a pitiful slap to Kiba's cheek before sauntering over to a stunned Itachi and placing a kiss on the Weasel Anbu's mask. After that, Naruto undid the transformation and began rolling on the ground in hysterical fits of laughter. Oh, Okami, ha ha ha, Kiba, ha ha, the transformation is a real thing, ha ha ha, as you could see and feel. The jutsu is incredibly useful, but your transformations were so fugly, ha 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 ha. Once Weasel broke himself out of his stupor and processed the information that was just shared and immediately began forming a number of ways that this could be used in missions. Actual transformation was above a standard Jonin level, and it seemed like Naruto could do it with ease. Yes, Itachi really wanted the blonde knucklehead on his team. Weasel watched the blonde stand up and wipe himself off before casually going over to the dead form of Mizuki and pulling his blade out. Itachi instantly noticed that the blonde boy must have killed before because he clearly wasn't bothered with the dead body. Another note to add to Naruto's rapidly growing file. After Naruto sealed Mizuki's dead body into a scroll, the trio, or quartet if you include Akamaru, bark, yeah okay boy, so the quartet made their way to the Hokage's office to report on the situation. Hiruzen heard the story from their three perspectives and that led to the following conversation. So, Naruto, you were telling me that you knew something was wrong, but you gave him a fake scroll and followed him without alerting the proper authorities. Hiruzen asked in a chastising tone. Look, old man, I thought something was wrong, but I didn't know for sure. I left a note for Tsunade, and I told Yosuke, who would have informed her in person. I didn't think our supposed sensei would try to trick Kiba, get the scroll and flee the village to go to Orochimaru. Naruto countered the chastising tone with gusto. Weasel decided to step in. Lord Hokage, Naruto seemed to have the situation well in hand. Even if Kiba handed over the scroll, there were remote detonation explosive tags. In terms of fighting capability, Naruto was far stronger than Mizuki, who was a low-level chunin at best. Damn straight, thank you, Mr. Weasel. Mizuki was a chump with a couple of big shuriken. I used one jutsu to counter him twice and then a shadow clone to create an opening. I was honestly hoping for a better fight. Naruto added while nodding confidently. If it were so easy, then why did you kill him rather than incapacitate him? The Hokage asked in a challenging tone. Before Naruto could answer the question, the double doors to the Hokage's office were kicked open and a worried Tsunade and Shizune ran into the room followed by Yosuke. After the two ladies fussed over Naruto and made sure everything was okay, the Hokage brought them up to speed. Naruto got a slight bonk on the head from Tsunade and a tongue lashing from Shizune, but they were both still smiling at him. Naruto was rubbing his head as he answered the Hokage's earlier question. Look, I didn't mean to kill the traitor, a blatant lie, but might as well play up the kid form, turn on the waterworks. I was going for his shoulder and the traitor deflected my blow up. Before I could stop my momentum, my sword went through his skull. I won't apologize for it, but it wasn't my intention to kill him. Naruto kept the watery eyes going to sell his story, which made his azure blues completely irresistible to the two women in the office. He was wrapped in hugs filled with heavenly mounds as Hiruzen responded. Sigh, fine, Naruto, I understand. I believe this incident highlights a reason to store the scrolls here in the Hokage vault. He might as well try to get the scrolls back under village protection. Bullshit, sensei. My son sniffed this out in our study and vault are just as, if not more, secure than this office. Lady Mito's protective seals have kept the Senju family heirlooms safe for decades and Naruto has improved upon them. Tsunade retorted forcefully. Yeah, old man, the scroll never even left the vault. No need for us to trust the village with it. Naruto added, perhaps choosing his wording poorly. Hiruzen's eyes sharpened as he glared at the two. So, you admit that you don't trust the village. Naruto recoiled a bit before firming his resolve and leaning forward to meet the Hokage's intimidating gaze. Trust is earned, old man, it isn't given freely. That is doubly so when the trust was already broken. Tsunade put a comforting hand on Naruto's shoulder and shot a proud smirk at Sarutobi, basically saying what he said. Hiruzen sighed wearily and rubbed his eyes. Kami, you Senju are so troublesome. Careful, old man, I will let the Naras know you are stealing their line and they might hit you with a copyright infringement. Naruto was having fun with the banter, committed to getting the last word in this conversation. Hiruzen sighed again and waved them out of his office. I will write up a B rank mission for Naruto and Kiba. Thank you for completing the mission and exposing the traitor, Mizuki. Now leave, you have already created enough extra paperwork for one night. As the Senju family, plus Kiba and Akamaru, left the office, Hiruzen had Weasel close the door. Okay, full report. Anything to add? Hiruzen asked in a firmer tone than he was using a minute ago. Well, Lord Hokage, it is clear to me that Naruto is experienced in battle, can plan ahead, he is crafty, and I believe he has killed before this. The way he removed his sword from Mizuki's corpse and the complete lack of remorse for killing him tells me that. Weasel reported. Do you think he is a threat to the village? Absolutely not, and your repeated insistence that him acting independently in the village's favor is somehow a demonstration of his lack of loyalty will drive him away. Lord Hokage, that boy didn't have to return to the village, he chose to. Since he has returned, he gained us the exchange program, saved the branch family Hyuga, started a study group that enhanced the level of the genin far above standard, and now he sniffed out a traitor. Just let the boy be and he will be a great blessing for the village. Weasel offered his mostly unsolicited opinion, but hey, he was supposed to be the next Hokage, so he should be able to speak freely. That is how it seems to you, Itachi. He doesn't trust me though, so forgive me for not trusting that he has my best interest at heart. Hiruzen groused. Itachi shook his head and frowned behind his mask. Either get over it or let me handle him. If you continue on this path, it will not lead to anything good, Lord Hokage. The next day, Naruto was waiting outside of the Hyuga compound for Hinata with a bouquet of moonflowers and a get-well card. He knew from Tsunade that Hizashi's procedure was this morning and he wanted to be there to support his friend. Sure enough, around 9 a.m., Hinata, Hanabi and 2 guards walked out the gate. Naruto greeted them formally and joined them on the walk to the hospital. It was important to Naruto that Hinata knew she was not in this alone. So, how are my moon princess and little firecracker doing this morning? Naruto said cheerily as he rubbed Hanabi on the top of her tiny head. Hinata blushed cherry red and Hanabi blushed in an embarrassed anger. Lord Senju, please refrain from messing up my hair. The little girl shouted. Ah, none of the formal stuff, please, little firecracker. Just call me Naruto or Ruto. Fine, but please refrain from messing up my hair. I hate when you do that. Hanabi pouted and Hinata giggled, which earned a genuine smile from Naruto. How are you girls holding up? Is there anything I can do to help? Naruto asked again. Hinata bowed her head to him. No thank you, Naruto. You have done more than enough to help our clan during my father's absence. It is most appreciated. Hanabi looked up to see the scarlet blush on her sister's cheeks and didn't understand it. Ah, alright, I just wanna help. How is Neji doing? Naruto asked cautiously, but the mood instantly chilled and the 2 guards fidgeted. Big brother Neji is being a meanie. He trains all day and doesn't talk to anybody. Hanabi whispered. Brother Neji is taking his father's betrayal and absence hard. The branch family is grateful to be free of the seal, but there was a lot of damage done to the Hyuga's honor and prestige due to the massacre. We are all struggling to get back on our feet. Hinata added. Yeah, well, I am sorry about that. It was a crazy situation, but I know your father would be proud of how you have risen to the occasion, Hinata. It just goes to show you would make a great clan head, especially once you are a little older. Naruto hit the girls with a gigawatt smile and made them both blush at his overwhelmingly warm presence. TT thank you, NN, Ruto. Hinata stuttered out and ended in a fierce blush. Hey, you hear that Hanabi, that was the first time your big sister called me Ruto. Alas. I can finally die a happy man. Naruto shouted in false bravado, which earned a fit of giggles from Hanabi and a near-nuclear blush from Hinata. You are funny, big brother Naruto. I like how my sister is when she is around you. Hanabi added innocently. Naruto caught Hinata as she fainted and shot a cheeky grin at Hanabi. You knew that would push her over the edge, didn't you, little firecracker? Hanabi put on her best innocent face. Whatever do you mean, big brother? I just think you earned a spot in our family. Naruto laughed as he shoved Hinata onto his back to the protests of the 2 guards. Hinata regained consciousness as they were approaching the front doors of the hospital. Naruto set the red-faced Hyuga down and waved at them as he said goodbye. He would check on them later, but today was the last full day he had with his friends from Kumo and Suna, and he wanted to make the most of it. Naruto went to the hotel that the Kumo kids were staying at and found that they had already left their room. Rather than continue his struggle and search blindly all over the village, Naruto jumped up to the top of the hotel and fell into a lotus position. He danced tentatively with the nature energy that gathered around him in increasing quantities and focused on allowing trickles of the potent energy into his chakra system. As the natural energy's influence increased on his system, Naruto spread his senses around the village in search of the now familiar chakra signatures. Naruto opened his eyes and smacked himself on his forehead. Of course, they would be at the Senju compound already. Naruto hopped to his feet and disappeared in a shunshin that took him to the training grounds. Naruto reoriented himself quickly and opened his eyes to see Samui and Omoi were already in Kenjutsu spars against his shadow clones. Hey guys, sorry I am late, I was just dropping Hinata and Hanabi at the hospital. Naruto offered a casual wave as the two halted their spars. Samui beamed a warm smile at Naruto. That was very cool of you, Ruto. When will their father's operation be done? Naruto shrugged. Mama said it would be a couple hours and even if he wakes up, he would be in the hospital for a while. Omoi began one of his what-if rants and Samui bonked him on the head. It was her duty in Karui's absence. As he rubbed his head, he asked a question. So, what do you guys want to do with one of our last days in Konoha? Yes, that is a good question. What are we going to do for our last day, brother? Gaara's monotone carried across the medium-sized training field. Naruto rubbed his chin in thought. I need to leave a couple clones to finish your going-away presents. Other than that, Ichiraku's or Akamichi barbecue followed by a picnic and swim at the lake. Akamichi barbecue sounds cool to me, and swimming sounds fun. Samui responded first. I think it is Shukaku's influence, but I would prefer Ichiraku's. Must be a Biju thing. Gaara pondered. But the lake sounds good. Are you going to invite the others? Oh, will you please invite the panda girl? She is good with a sword and really pretty. But, if we fall in love then I would have to leave Kumo. If I leave Kumo then Samui and Karui would be defenseless. If they are defenseless then some bandit, ouch. Omoi ended in a stunned scream as both hands began soothing the emerging lump on his head. Haha, gotta love that about you, Omoi. So, buddy, you are the tie-breaker. Barbecue or ramen? Naruto asked. I guess I vote barbecue then. Omoi offered his vote. Well, I vote ramen. Rias added, making her presence known to the group. And I think I will invite Anko. Rias shot a wink at Naruto, who struggled to suppress the shiver that shot down his spine. If I am invited, I will vote for barbecue. A warrior needs his meat for proper sustenance. Yosuke added. But ramen is so tasty. Hikari chirped. Naruto face-palmed himself and then offered a solution. Okay, change of plans, give me your orders and I will have some clones pick up the food. We will eat it at the lake and hang out before we go for a swim. Sound good. An hour later, the group was at the lake happily eating fresh meat and ramen out of the scrolls Naruto had sealed the meals into. They claimed 2 tables by the lakeside and smushed them together. Anko, Kurenai, Hana Inuzuka, Ino, Sakura, Kiba, Shikamaru and Mayuri joined the group for their lakeside retreat. After the eating was finished, the girls shed their clothes and displayed an array of swimsuits that caused Kiba and Omoi to fall over with nosebleeds. As they played in the lake, Rias, Anko, Kurenai and Hana were watching the antics of the group. You know, your brother is in quite the pickle. From what I can see, 2 young ladies are one wrong look away from a full-blown catfight. Anko laughed and teased Rias while devouring another stick of dango. Rias sighed exasperatedly. You don't have to tell me. If the Kage's daughter saw this, then the 4th Great Shinobi War would start because of my brother. Hana spit out her sip of sake and Kurenai shot a dirty look at Naruto. So, he is just a player like the rest of the filthy men in this village. And to think, Hinata likes him as well. Kurenai's tone was full of venom and disdain for the male species. Easy, Kurenai. From what I can see, he is keeping it PG. Can't blame the pup for being popular. Hana eased her friend out of another man-hating rant. Rias shot a stern look at Kurenai. If only they would be so lucky. My brother is a great man, and he will grow up to be even greater. It is hard to explain, but he can't make up his mind. The result is that he treats them all like princesses and they all love him for it. PSH. He will grow into a man-horse since he has been spoiled by women from a young age. Kurenai countered. Somebody needs to get laid, Anko whispered in a not-so-whispery fashion. Before Kurenai could bite Anko's head off, Hana countered for her. Well, we are not as lucky as you, Anko. You have Rias there. It almost makes me want to bat for the other team. Rias blushed cherry red and Anko laughed. Yeah, well, before Rias here, I didn't swing this way either. Maybe you should join us tonight and see if you like it. Enko wiggled her eyebrows suggestively. Enko. Rias and Hannah shouted, which made Enko laugh harder. Actually, I can't tonight, sweetie. I need to be back at the Senju compound. Rias closed the offer. It was her night and next day to recharge and resync with Naruto. The Yamanaka's suggestion yielded positive results in stabilizing Naruto and the alter egos. They each spent 2 nights and a full day per week inside of Naruto to resync, which was far better than planning hostile takeovers in the night like Rias used to do. Ah, can I join you there? Enko pouted, which earned her a hard look from Rias. So, you are too ashamed of me to tell your family. Rias sighed before placing a comforting hand on Enko's. She knew she would have to tell her soon. Look, I will explain it all in due time, Enko. For now, just know that I will be tied up at the compound for tonight and tomorrow. In the lake, the kids were playing with a volleyball and lazing about in tubes. Naruto was underwater in predator mode and swam rapidly to the surface. Samui was lazing about on her tube and was soaking up a nice tan from the summer sun. Suddenly, the tube and Kumo Kunoichi were shot nearly 10 feet in the air before Samui splashed unceremoniously into the lake. The blonde Kunoichi rose to the surface and spit water from her mouth at the laughing Naruto. When that didn't cease his laughing, a wrestling match ensued. Samui sped behind Naruto and attempted to lock him in a full Nelson and sweep out his feet. Naruto felt the sizable and cushiony chest of Samui on his back and couldn't stop the perverted thoughts from entering his mind. Snapping himself out of his erotic illusions, he easily broke her hold and spun to get a grip on her waist. Unfortunately, 2-piece bikinis are not the best for water contact sports. Somehow, Naruto ripped Samui's top off and exposed her soft pink nipples just above the surface of the water. The playful fight ground to a halt as Naruto looked mortified and Samui blushed furiously. Naruto put himself directly in front of Samui, blocking the view for the other guys at the lake. He handed Samui's top back to her under the water and the blushing blonde sheathed her bust back into her swimsuit. When she was done, she latched onto Naruto's back in a sheepish manger. "Did you see?" she whispered to him. He nodded. Samui blushed. "Baka." Samui bonked him on the head, but still latched onto his back. I am sorry, Samui. It was an accident. For what it is worth, you are a truly stunning woman. Naruto whispered back over his shoulder. Samui slid off Naruto's back and buried her blushing face underneath the water's surface. Ino, who had witnessed the fight, was a mixture of mad and jealous. The blonde Kumo bimbo was hanging all over her man, and Naruto didn't seem to mind. Then again, Naruto always flirted with her and had fun. Maybe that was just how Naruto was. No, Ino Yamanaka doesn't leave anything up to chance. If I want him, then I am going to have to fight for him. With her inner motivational monologue complete, Ino sped over to Naruto and splashed him. As Ino and Naruto were water fighting, Samui entered and made it a 3-way fight. Hinata and Hanabi walked up on the group at the lake to this scene and Kurenai rushed over to greet her. "How'd it go, Hinata?" Kurenai asked and the group halted what they were doing to listen in. "Father is awake. The procedure worked, but he will be in the hospital for a while. He will take over some of the clan duties, but I will still be in charge of the compound." "That's great news, congrats Hinata." Naruto shouted from the lake. Naruto's encouragement and the sight of his exposed chest made Hinata blush furiously. Then, she saw the 2 blonde bimbos hanging all over him and she forced her blush down. If that was how they wanted to play, then she could play this game. She had run the Hyuga clan for a couple months, for Kami's sake. "Hey, Ruto, could I talk to you for a minute?" Hinata used her most confident and flirtatious voice. Sure, I will be right there. Gimme a sec." Naruto shouted back before he splashed to the beach and grabbed a towel. "Okay, so Hinata, step 1 was super successful, but now what? What should I do? I was so jealous that I didn't think this through. Oh no. Okay, Hinata, stay calm. You can do this." Hinata ran out of time to calm her mind and her blush was now shining on her face as Naruto walked up. He was 5 feet 9 inches, extremely toned muscles with very little body fat, and he wasn't even 13 years old yet. His 6-pack was starting to develop enough as the effects of puberty started taking effect on his pubescent body. All in all, Hinata was in trouble because her mind was drooling over the blonde hunk in front of her and she couldn't focus on the words she wanted to come out of her face hole. Naruto waited patiently and smiled with a fond reminiscence at her blush. So, Hinata, what did you need? Is everything okay? Hanabi giggled as her sister stuttered out a response. Why yes, Naruto. My F father W wants T to invite you T to AF family D dinner when he is discharged from the H hospital. Hanabi snickered, that was a pretty good recovery for his sister. She was getting better at this. The little firecracker decided to back her sister up. That's right, big brother, daddy wants to thank you for helping the clan. So, you will come, right? Naruto gasped as he was hit by a twin set of puppy dog eyes. It was super effective. Sure thing, you know I can't deny you anything, little firecracker. He smiled broadly as the puppy dog faces turned into two smiling Hyugas. Back in the water, Samui and Ino were standing side by side with their arms crossed. Samui, knowing that she only had one more day with Naruto before the Chunin exams, decided to poke the bear. He is a pretty cool guy. I know you know that I like him, and I also know that you like him. Sadly, I am from Kumo, and it probably would never work out. So, let me have him for this weekend and then you can fight it out with the pale-eyed princess. Deal, Samui said, never taking her eyes off the blushing Hyuga sisters. Ino mulled it over before responding. Fine, but only kissing. You think he even knows we all love him? I mean, he treats everyone the same. PSH, probably not. I mean, I made it pretty clear. He is a super cool kisser. But the little Hyuga is too innocent, and you haven't really made your move. If you want him, you will need to fight for him, Blondie. Samui smirked as she attempted to motivate her fellow blonde. Grr, if he wasn't so oblivious, he would already know. Ino pouted. Let me be cool and help out my fellow blonde. Naruto is in the top 1% of the 1% of guys. When guys like that think about girls, they don't have to make the first move. They are so overwhelmed by girls flirting with them that they never learn to chase because they truly don't need to. Samui informed her friend. You might be right, but that raises a question. If he is so great, why are you giving up on him? Ino asked with a raised brow. Samui sighed before leaning into Ino's shoulder. Look, Blondie, I do like him. I like him enough that I am going to get in trouble when I go back to Kumo. That being said, you never hear about inter-village marriages, do you? Care to explain? As for your second thing, well, not really, but our first Hokage married Uzushio's princess. If you want something bad enough, you find a way to make it happen. Ino countered. Why are you encouraging me, Blondie? Samui asked, genuinely interested in the reason. Simple, you are my friend and my rival for Ruto's love. If I lost to you, I know you would make him happy. You still haven't explained why you are going to be in trouble. Samui hesitated but saw that her friend would keep her secret. When the Raikage sent me here, he told me to seduce Ruto and attempt to get pregnant. I think Ruto knows because he always stopped me before we went too far. The more I got to know him, the less I tried. I mean, what kind of guy gives a young girl that's not even a gen in a seduction mission? Ino laughed at the question. A desperate one. Tell your Raikage that if he wants what is best for Kumo, always take the straight-up approach with Ruto. He is pretty much a human lie detector. Noted. So, friends? Samui asked as she wrapped an arm around Ino. Ino returned the hug. Friends, even when you go home. Now, let's go get our fellow blonde and make him pay attention to us. We are clearly better than the Hyuga sisters. Later that night, in the Senju compound, Naruto was sat down by Rias. Rias brought sake and Sour Patch Kids into Naruto's room and set them down on his bed. Naruto turned his desk chair around and looked at her quizzically. Look, Naruto, I think it is about time we talk. There are some things that are going to make our lives more complicated and there are some things that you really need to figure out. Rias started before rubbing the spot next to her on the bed. Naruto stood up from his chair on the desk, stretched out and then cuddled into Rias before pouring each of them a drink of sake and putting a Sour Patch Kid in each saucer. The two leaned the saucers back and downed the contents. Naruto leaned back into Rias, feeling like it was the completely natural thing to do. All right, I am listening, he said as he prepared another drink. First, you know that I am kind of dating Anko. She doesn't know the truth yet, but I need to tell her. Rias started awkwardly. Yeah, getting random memories in my dreams makes it really hard to look her in the eyes. She is beautiful, Riri. You really like her, don't you? Naruto asked. I sure do, she is a free spirit like me, and she is incredibly loyal and sexy. Rias broke out into a perverted giggle. Yeah, if my dreams are to be believed, you two have done a lot more than I ever knew was possible. Honestly, when I was dating during the war, it was always tainted by the stress and darkness of the war. I just bumbled around and hoped I made them feel good. Naruto sported an embarrassed blush. Rias ruffled Naruto's hair. I know, Ruto. You sometimes forget that I was able to review your memories for like the first 10 years of your life. If you want, maybe Anko and I could teach you a thing or two. Wouldn't that be weird? Naruto's blush turned atomic as he asked. Maybe at first, but it's not like it would be incest or anything. More like advanced masturbation. Rias broke out into full-blown laughter at her original's blush. I will think about it. Injutsu, or the seductive arts, could be a useful skill. Not to mention that I really need help figuring out what to do about my girl situation. Rias pulled Naruto in close. That was the second thing I needed to talk to you about. I am not saying you need to commit to marriage right away, but you can't keep leading these girls on forever. I doubt Kami or Mama would approve of a harem. Naruto chuckled nervously before his expression turned somber. How am I supposed to choose? Each of them makes my life better. Each of them holds a place in my heart. Every time their memories flash through my mind, I mean, it is hardly a standard situation. Rias sighed. Ruto, I understand you, I really do. I am not telling you to decide right away, but just know that you will need to make a decision. So, when can we tell Anko? Naruto sighed in relief at the change of topic. Whenever you want. If you trust her, I trust her. Rias hugged Naruto and placed a kiss on his forehead. Thanks, Ruto. With that, a blue aura transitioned out of the wood clone and into Naruto. Naruto put a hand on the remains of the wood clone and absorbed it. Good night, Rias. Sleep tight. The next day, Gaara, Mayuri, Naruto, Tsunade and Shizune were waiting for the Kazekage and his entourage at the front gates. Hiruzen and the two elders were there as well as Shino's parents. Shibi kept glancing at Naruto, as if he was truly intrigued by the boy, which Naruto noticed and probed Kurama within his mind. Hey, do you think the bugs know that I have been letting you out? I mean, the Senju compound is protected by seals, but you go around the village and woods a lot. Kurama grumbled at being woken up from a nap. He has been sleep deprived because he has been so active with access to a new body. Yawn, I don't know, Kit. I have done what I can to keep my chakras suppressed in the village. Those bugs are quite perceptive though. Okay, just remain aware around them. I don't want the village to freak the fuck out for no real reason. Naruto thought back. Sure thing, Kit. Now, let me sleep. Back at the gates, the Suna group could be seen approaching the gates of Konoha. Naruto spread his senses out and he couldn't suppress the smile that spread across his face. As the group drew closer, a familiar, bun-haired blonde darted ahead of the group. Naruto chuckled and began walking to meet her. Temari lunged at Naruto and jumped into his arms, truly a scene that the Hokage and elders weren't ready for. Temari, throwing all courtesy to the wind, leaned her neck up and laid a passionate kiss on Naruto. The kiss lasted long enough for the Kazekage to catch up and cough to disrupt the kiss. A panting Naruto caught his breath before bowing formally to Raza. Lord Kazekage, welcome back to Konoha. I hope your trip went smoothly. Raza put a hand on Naruto's shoulder. No need for formality, Ruto. Those old goats can't hear us from here. Although, you two just put on quite the show. The two had the decency to blush and Naruto scratched the back of his neck. Sorry about that. Raza waved off the apology as the group walked through the gates. Nothing I haven't seen before, Ruto. I will do the fatherly thing and caution you against hurting my daughter though. Temari saw Naruto's momentary lapse in confidence as he looked down at his feet. She frowned for a moment, her mind racing with the possibilities. Something wrong, Ruto. Naruto threw on his smile. Nah, nothing we haven't talked about before. So, should I expect a cuddle buddy tonight? What's this? You haven't reserved my spot already. Temari shot back in a flirty tone. It's a standing reservation for my desert lily. Naruto answered confidently, gaining the desired blush from Temari. Kankuro scoffed, why would you want to cuddle with this tomboy? I have heard stories about the many beautiful chicks in Konoha. While Temari was beating the stuffing out of Kankuro with her unsealed battle fan, Naruto couldn't stop himself from asking. Lord Kazekage, did he really just call girls chicks? At Raza's sigh, Naruto laughed and continued. You know, Pops, you should really send him to seduction training. Maybe then he wouldn't be completely hopeless. Temari resealed her fan and spoke for her father. No, he would still be hopeless, or are you forgetting that he likes wearing a cat suit and wearing makeup? Raza chuckled, Naruto laughed and Kankuro protested. The group walked through the gates, and everyone snapped into formal mode. Tsunade smiled seeing Naruto with Temari. The girl had truly grown on her during their time in Suna. Tsunade let the cages handle the formalities and immediately went to give Temari and Kankuro hugs, followed shortly thereafter by Shizune. The groups went to the cage tower and got everything handled. That night, the Hokage hosted a banquet at the community center for the Kumo and Suna contingents. All exchange students, protective details, clan heads and other important people were there. It was a fancy occasion and a couple things happened that were worth covering. First, Naruto gave his gifts to his friends. Second, the Raikage pulled Naruto aside. After dinner, when everyone was mingling and enjoying their final night in Konoha, Naruto approached the Kumo group. He let Samui and Omoi introduce him to Yugito and Karui, which would be their team. Naruto knew Yugito was the Jinchuriki of the Nibi no Nekomata and he thought that he would use this occasion to give her an early warning. After introductions were complete, he held out his fist to her. Yugito gasped as she was forced to enter a joint mindscape after tapping Naruto's fist. She was facing Matabi, the two-tailed cat, but she spun around when she heard Naruto speak. Okay, Yugito, don't freak out. I pulled you in here so that I could give you a warning. Naruto said, holding his hands up in a disarming fashion. Yugito eyed her fellow blonde skeptically, but Kurama spoke. Matabi, it has been too long. How are you, sister? The cat cocked her head and looked inquisitively at Kurama. You have mellowed out, brother. I never thought you would peacefully interact with humans. Long story short, the kid here has earned it. Now, please listen to him as what he has to say is important. Kurama said in a serious tone, which made the two females look at Naruto with analytical eyes. Okay, long story short. Jiraiya is my grandfather, and he specializes at collecting information. There is a group called Akatsuki that is composed of many, ranked rogue shinobi. Their goal is to capture the Biju and resurrect the Jubi. The best guess at their timeline is in the next 3 years. I wanted to warn you so you could prepare. They specialize at neutralizing the natural advantages our Biju give us, so train your ninja skills as much as your Biju mode. Naruto said while maintaining eye contact with the two. That is quite the claim, Naruto Senju. Do you have any proof or know any of their members? Yugito asked. As of now, Hidan the Jushinist, Kakuzu the Immortal, Deidara the Mad Bomber and the masked man that set the Kyuubi loose on Konoha. He is an Uchiha, but his identity is unknown. He claims to be Madara Uchiha, but I highly doubt that. Their abilities are in the bingo book except for the Madara wannabe. When they make their move, they will travel in two-man teams. Naruto answered. Yugito whistled, that's quite the list. I will let the Raikage know. He wishes to advance our alliance, so this will be more motivation for him to do so. Listen, Matabi, if you cannot avoid capture, you will need to break the seal. The extraction process will kill her anyway. Naruto has already agreed to these terms in the event of his capture, Kurama stated in a cold tone. Matabi hissed, Kurama, this kitten here is the first one to earn my respect. I will not be the one to kill her. Then prepare her, for if she is captured, you will both die. Kurama growled. Alright, that's enough of the doom and gloom. Look, if you need to contact me, talk to Samui. I am going to give her a method to contact me instantly. If something comes up, use that. Naruto diffused the tension in the chamber. Fine, Naruto. I will trust you. So, what do you think of my little sister? Yugito asked, clearly teasing him. She is a beautiful kunoichi and a good friend. Tell your Raikage that seduction missions won't work on me. That being said, I really like her and if things were different maybe it could have worked out. Naruto answered honestly, despite his blush. Yugito wore an amused and slightly sad look on her face as she responded, "She told me you were a good kid and now I believe her." Well, we should get back to the party. Back at the gathering, Naruto presented Gaara, Temari and Samui with his newly developed communication scrolls. They allowed for long-range instant communication and each scroll was linked in pairs. Temari's jealousy spiked when she saw Samui hug and kiss Naruto on the cheek, but she forced it down. Her blonde idiot was going to attract a number of bimbos, she would just have to trust that he will choose her at the end of the day. And at the end of this particular day, he would be all hers. Later that night, Temari was cuddling into Naruto's chest in his bed. She loved his warmth and the overwhelmingly peaceful feeling on his chakra. It was almost enough for her to avoid the conversation, but she positioned herself on top of Naruto and looked right into his eyes. "So, Samui, she challenged. Naruto leaned up and kissed her. "Raikage sent her here on a seduction mission. We grew close over the 6 months, but we are just friends." Temari returned the kiss and pecked him on the lips again before asking her next question. "A friend that kisses you in public?" Naruto placed a playful kiss on Temari's nose. "Pretty much. We have both accepted that it won't go anywhere. Plus, I told her that you would start the 4th Great Shinobi War if we took it any further than friendship." Temari appreciated the answer and placed a tender kiss on his lips. "Good boy. What about the girls in your village?" Naruto shrugged. "Look, Mari, I have a lot of great female friends. If I am honest, I have not closed off my heart. You are my number one, but until our villages approve, you know that I will not take this any further." Temari sighed at this. "Damn it, Ruto, you know daddy has proposed a political marriage like a million times. And you know that isn't my decision. Tell him to make it official with the old monkey and I will commit. I have no problem saying that I love you, Mari. That is Kami's honest truth." Temari blushed furiously at his response before mustering up her courage. "Then make love to me." Naruto smiled at her before responding. "Temari, I may be developed for my age, but I am still only 12. I thought we agreed to wait until marriage or until I turned 14. This was Naruto's last line of defense. Temari being a couple years older makes it hard, but it is an effective deterrent. "Damn it, Ruto." Temari grabbed his rod through his boxers. "This doesn't belong on a 12-year-old and you certainly don't act like one either." Naruto smiled at this and moaned as Temari's hand began stroking. "Are you strong enough to stop us from going all the way if we take this next step?" "Because I honestly don't know if I am." In response, Temari kissed Naruto passionately while maintaining a constant grip on his package. Naruto returned the kiss and let himself enjoy the experience, trying to remind himself not to let this go too far. It only took a matter of minutes before Naruto lost himself to the lust in the arms of this beautiful woman. Retrospectively, Naruto would rationalize that the connection he had built with Temari over the last 6 years was stronger, pure and free of the taint of war, and that is why he gave in. Temari wanted this, she had wanted this for years. While the Kage's daughter would never be assigned seduction missions, Temari still paid attention during the lessons. Her age, training and instincts were guiding her hands down and her heart was crying out in joy. Her right hand continued its clumsy and inexperienced work down low, and her left hand wrapped around Naruto's neck and kept him engaged in the kiss. Her tongue flittered in a delicate and sensual dance with his own. As the dance continued, the only thought on Temari's content mind was that she wanted more. Lemon warning. Naruto's arousal was reaching peak. Temari's soft hand had slipped under his boxers and her delicate touch urged him on. Mental barriers, thoughts of the past, self-imposed restraints and any other obstacles were shattered one by one as Naruto's will to resist gave out. He only wanted to make his desert lily happy, he lived to hear her soft moans and feel her squirm under his touch. Naruto broke the lip lock and trailed kisses down Temari's feminine chin, down her neck into her collarbone. His previously restrained hands broke through their imaginary cuffs and immediately set to work, aiding their master in the pleasuring of the blonde beauty. One hand went to her toned rear, feeling minimal separation from the emerald green panties Temari was wearing. His fingers found purchase in the supple flesh of Temari's rear and his firm ministrations broke the dams on Temari's moans. Her moans escaped her throat and urged the blonde reincarnation forward. Every moan breaking down a piece of the mental barrier that Naruto had worked over the years to erect. Temari's mind became cloudy as the goddess of lust subverted her will. In this moment, all she wanted was the man she had grown to truly love, the man that had changed her and her family's lives for the better. With a will of its own, Temari's right hand gained pace as her own pleasure reached new heights. A new sensation joined the fray and Temari cracked an eye open to see Naruto's head on her chest, and her mind processed the feeling of his tongue on her nipple. The tender ministrations of the man she loved caused her to reach her climax, and she felt powerful convulsions rack her body as her womanhood clamped, shivered and exploded in release. Naruto felt his whole body tense and convulse when his teeth began to nibble on the soft, pink nub protruding from Temari's left breast. His senses picked up on the release of the sweet nectar in between her legs, and his mind dragged his head downward toward the honey pot. He trailed kisses along Temari's abdomen and brought both hands to the task of tenderly removing the final obstacle to Temari's womanhood. Neither of them hesitated as Temari lifted her hips and Naruto pulled down on the edges of the panties. A small, trimmed, blonde landing strip guided his mouth down, and his tongue eagerly lapped up the reward of his previous efforts. While claiming his prize, he felt Temari's legs close around his head and lock him into position. Naruto refused any attempt to pull back or break the wave of lust-filled actions that had claimed control of his entire body. His rod pulsed as his tongue explored the soft, pink caverns of Temari's inner walls. The flavor overwhelmed his tongue and imprinted itself in Naruto's memory, claiming the right to his most potent memory, becoming the primary reason for continuing the good fight. Naruto lost track of time and forgot the need to breathe as his mouth, tongue and hands worked in tandem to bring the Suna Kunoichi to another climax. This time, Naruto's mouth was in position to claim the fresh and untainted fruits of his labors. Temari felt her body shudder for the second time as her eyes began to roll into the back of her head. Her whole state of being was content with the situation, but her primal instincts guided her to release her lover's head and pull him into a passionate kiss. Moans escaped both mouths as tongues tangled and shared the flavor of Temari's orgasm. She trapped Naruto's leg and rolled on top of him, her exposed snatch rubbing on the hard rod that was pulsing rhythmically with the thrusts of their bodies. She broke the kiss and trailed her head down until she stared the monster in the eye. Her tongue extended from her mouth and explored the contour and flavor of Naruto's cock. The potent aroma of his arousal spurring her natural instincts forward until she enclosed the head in her mouth. The taste of his precum excited her and motivated her to start bobbing her head, and she felt one of Naruto's hands placed in the space between her buns. The soft, yet unyielding touch guiding her to continue her ministrations. The soft tongue wrapped around his head and her lips coaxed him forward. Naruto's eyes closed, his member pulsed strongly, and he threw his head back into the pillows. "Mari, I'm coming," he gasped out. Temari sped up, spurred forward by her lover's moans. Wanting nothing more than to feel his release in her mouth as proof that her efforts were not in vain. In less than 30 seconds, the first spurt of her seed filled her mouth and claimed her senses. The release was filled with life energy that emboldened the flavor and made her tongue tingle in delight. Despite her best efforts, her mouth and throat were not enough to contain the voluminous release, and some dribbled down the sides of her mouth. Multiple gulps later, Temari removed her mouth from the meat rod in a sweet and wet pop and gasped for air. Her mind completely clouded by the lack of oxygen and overwhelming effect of the pheromones. As Naruto spurted his release into Temari's mouth, his mind processed her sensual moans and untidy slurping that served as proof of her will to please him. As she released from his rod, he pulled her into a firm embrace and her head found its natural position on his chest. Coming down from the high, Naruto had a moment of clarity that served to break him out of his bestial trance and allowed him to end the session before they went past the point of no return. His breathing calmed and regained its natural rhythm as Temari snuggled into his chest with a content smile on her face. Lemon end. "I love you, Ruto. Thank you for tonight," Temari whispered through half-lidded eyes as sleep claimed her. Naruto placed a tender kiss on her forehead and whispered back, "I love you too, Mari." In the heavenly plane, Kami pumped a fist in the air over Kushina and Minato's heads. "Yes, I win. Pay up, suckers." Kami cheered as the two blushing parents each took a gold coin out of their pockets and handed it to the deity. "Damn, well I thought he would end up with Hinata. She had a tough go this time around." Kushina pouted. Minato laughed awkwardly as he scratched the back of his neck. "Yeah, well I thought that his Mokuden would make him bond with Ino first." Of course, that likely would have been the case if he remained in the village. Kushina glared at Minato. If he remained in the village, he would have been tortured and hated. Plus, Kami, the game isn't over yet. That was just the first round and my Sochi didn't even take it all the way. Yes, Kushina. You have a point, but I don't think my champion is that flip-floppy. Kami tried to muster a confident tone as she said this, which earned perverted giggles from the parental duo. Although, I must admit that your son has become my favorite channel to tune into. He is a most interesting man and those alternate personalities of his are an interesting twist. Minato sighed, they are concerning. How will the other egos integrate into his life? Do you know if there will be more? Kami tapped a slim finger on her chin. I honestly don't know. In order to enjoy the show, I have disabled my omnipotence for this universe. It makes the experiment more enjoyable that way. Team selections and genin tests. The next day, Naruto bid farewell to Gaara, Kankuro, Temari, Mayuri, Raza, Samui, Omoi, Karui, Yugito and gave a firm handshake to Ai, who smirked at him and declared that when Naruto was grown, they would have a spar. Naruto returned the smirk with one of his own and bumped his fist with the massive mitt of the fourth Raikage. He said goodbye to his friends, one by one, and he stopped Samui from kissing his lips with a soft turn of his head. He had been honest with her about his feelings for the other girls and didn't want to disrespect them in public. Of course, the attempted kiss didn't escape Temari's notice, who rapidly pulled Naruto into an alley around the corner before she placed a passionate kiss on his lips. He returned the kiss and ended it with a nibble to her bottom lip and a firm squeeze of Temari's ass. After reassuring her, he smacked her on the butt and forced her to rejoin the group. He locked eyes with Gaara and gave him a firm nod of the head, which earned a smile from Suna's Jinchuriki. After the groups departed, the Hokage returned to his office and dispatched his Anbu to gather the potential Jonin sensei. 3 hours later, due to one silver-haired ninja with a face mask, the meeting was finally able to start. Hiruzen growled as he set down his pipe. Kakashi, this is the last time you will be late when answering my call. I care not for your petty rebellion, it was time for you to leave the Anbu. The next time you are late, you will be doing 1 week of D-rank missions solo with half pay. The punishment will double each time. The Jonin in the room sniggered and Kakashi glared at each of them with his single eye. We care not for the civilian teams that we know will fail, so we will cut straight to the good stuff, dear readers. Hiruzen cleared his throat after Genma's protest of getting another purely civilian genin team. Alright, Team 7, it will be led by Kakashi Hatake. Kakashi, any preferences for your team? Kakashi looked up from his orange book and I smiled. Sasuke Uchiha, Naruto Senju and I don't care. Kakashi returned his attention to the orange book. Iruka, who had joined the Jonin as the fresh Genin's Academy instructor, stood up in protest. Kakashi, if you read the portfolios I prepared instead of your smut, you would know that Naruto and Sasuke are oil and water. Putting them on the same team would be catastrophic. Hiruzen blew out a ring of smoke. Iruka is right. I will grant you Sasuke, but Naruto has already been claimed by another, that was approved by me. This earned whispers around the room, but Kakashi's eye smile fell. Lord Hokage, he is the son of my sensei. It is my right and duty to train him. When I took him to Tsunade he said as much. Kakashi protested. Hiruzen cocked an eyebrow, you have no such right. As Iruka stated, the Uchiha boy and Naruto cannot be on the same team. Naruto would end up killing Sasuke before they even completed their first rank. Kakashi scoffed, if I don't get my sensei's son, then who does? I do, senpai. Came a soft voice from the corner of the room. All eyes turned to see Itachi Uchiha making his presence known. I will be taking Team 8 and I requested Naruto. I cannot take my little brother as it would be a conflict of interest. Kakashi turned a disbelieving eye to the Hokage. You are going to have an Uchiha train a Senju. Are you insane? Hiruzen stood up and flared his aura, which instantly got Kakashi to back down. That will be enough, Kakashi. If you will not end your tantrum, then leave. I will send an Anbu with your team assignment if you cannot refrain from disrupting the meeting further. After Hiruzen retook his seat, a beautiful red-eyed Kunoichi stepped forward. Lord Hokage, I thought I was going to be the Jonin sensei of Team 8. Hiruzen sighed wearily, he had forgotten to have that conversation with Kurenai. Look, Ms. Uhi, you are a very fresh Jonin. For this cycle, I will have you acting as a supplementary instructor when you are not on missions. You will learn from your peers and develop a teaching style of your own. In 1 year, you will be granted a genin team. Kurenai bowed her head submissively and stifled the tears threatening to escape. As you wish, Lord Hokage. Hiruzen laid that to rest and looked at Itachi. I have already granted you Naruto. Senju, do you have any other preferences, Itachi? According to the reports, the Hyuga heiress will be allowed to join the genin teams due to her father's recovery. I wish for her because Naruto is already close to her, and she has great potential. I will leave the third to you, but I request that it isn't Kiba Inuzuka due to conflicting personalities. Kurenai looked with heavy interest at Itachi. He requested her surrogate sister. Kurenai had tried to help Hinata throughout her childhood and she had redoubled her efforts after the massacre. She would definitely be talking to Itachi to take part in the team's training. Plus, he was the only person in the village that could outdo her in genjutsu. Hiruzen puffed his pipe and looked at his son. Asuma, any requests? Asuma was chewing agitatedly on a cigarette. Ino shika cho. Enough said with that. Itachi chuckled, which caught the Jonin in the room off guard. If you think you will be able to coast by, think again. Ino and even Shikamaru have been joining Naruto for his training sessions. If you aren't careful and attentive, they will lose all respect for you as a sensei. Asuma's cigarette fell out of his mouth. He thought he could take this team and ride their coattails as a Jonin sensei. He thought the Nara would lead and plan and be lazy. Thanks for the heads up, Itachi. Jonin, you are dismissed. Uruka, please stay and help me plan these out. You will get your teams this Friday now that all students have returned. If you don't like your genin teams, that is too bad. Deal with it. Hiruzen issued the warning in a vain attempt to prevent his week from being disrupted by whining Jonin sensei. That Thursday, Naruto, Ino, Shikamaru, Choji, who was simply following Shikamaru, and Hanabi were waiting outside of the hospital. They didn't have to wait too long when they saw a nurse pushing Hiyashi Hyuga out of the hospital's front doors in a wheelchair. The Hyuga clan head tried to maintain a dignified look as he rested with his back straight and face fixed in the wheelchair. As they exited the hospital doors, Naruto took over pushing the wheelchair for the nurse by disarming Hinata's protest with a smile. Hiyashi noticed the interaction, but there were more important things to deal with. Thank you all for coming and thank you for supporting my daughter during my recovery. Hiyashi slightly inclined his head to the group. No problem, Naruto chirped, Hinata is like a little sister to us. We would never let her go through something that awful alone. This earned a blush from the Hyuga heiress and a snigger from Hanabi. Ah, yes, Naruto Senju, it appears that I owe you a great debt. My daughter informed me that you removed and replaced the seals. How did you accomplish such a feat so quickly? Hiyashi asked. I believe we can discuss that in private, Lord Hyuga. For now, why don't we enjoy the fact that you are out of the hospital? Naruto countered, not wanting to spill secrets in public. At Hiyashi's reluctant nod, the group walked through Konoha where many villagers offered their congratulations on Hiyashi's recovery and condolences for the loss of his clan. The Hyuga patriarch did his best to remain poised as the many condolences came one after another. His expression started to crack, and tears were poorly hidden behind his white eyes by the time the group reached the front gate of the Hyuga compound. Unmarked guards displayed their foreheads proudly and welcomed Hiyashi back to the compound. After a welcome-back celebration, Hiyashi pulled Naruto into his office for a long-overdue conversation. Hinata attempted to join the pair, but Naruto got her to back down with a sorry smile and a please. Naruto sat across from Hiyashi's desk and met the intimidating man's gaze. Where to start? I guess, I should say the Hyuga clan thanks you for all your assistance over these past months. I specifically owe you a sizable debt of gratitude. Hiyashi started after staring impassively at Naruto. No, Lord Hyuga, you do not. I have not done what I have for you. I did it for your daughter. Naruto countered. My daughter. Correct me if I am wrong, but you had no interaction with my daughter before your return to the village. Hiyashi said with a raised eyebrow. During my time in hiding, she was one of my true friends. You could say I have been a part of her life since her 5th birthday, in fact. During my time away, I always kept an eye on her and some others when I sent clones to scout Konoha. Naruto answered truthfully. He knew that all Hyugas can easily tell when someone is lying thanks to their bloodline. Hizashi cast an incredulous look at Naruto's statement and his eyes took in every small detail of the blonde in front of him. That was you. Naruto nodded. How? How did you know he was going to betray us? The fox grants me certain abilities. I felt their negative intentions tainting the village. As for how, my father stored some of his memories and abilities within my seal and those activated when I was 4. I simply used that knowledge and what I learned in my self-studies to thwart the attempt. Naruto answered carefully. Everything he said was a half-truth, but it wasn't a lie and people like Hizashi were used to speaking in half-truths. So, you are the neighborhood watch? Hizashi asked incredulously. Part of it. I will not tell you more at this time. As a partial payment for my aid to your family, I am choosing to trust you with this information. The intimidating pre-teen met Hizashi's firm gaze with even intensity. Very well, I acknowledge my debt to you and to your father, for that matter. Answer me this, why has the Branch family consented to Hinata and myself regaining control of the family? Why have they not finished what Hizashi started? Did you know I was working with Hizashi to free the Branch family? Naruto countered his questions with a question. Yes, he told me that he was working to create a counter seal. I was under strict observation by the elders, but he was able to move more freely. Hizashi answered. Do you know why he snapped? Naruto asked another question. No. Hizashi answered simply. Otaru went after Neji, whose prisoner seal I had disabled. When the seal didn't work, he ordered him whipped and beaten. Then the elders talked behind your back about executing him, which drove Hizashi into a state of madness. With his prisoner seal disabled by me, he tore through them. He killed them so nobody could take revenge on the Branch family by activating all of their cursed seals. Then why did he attack me? Hizashi countered. Did he attack you or did you put yourself in his way? Naruto asked, unflustered by Hizashi's scowl. Hizashi processed the memories of the night and then nodded his head. I tried to get in his way. The fight moved from the courtyard because Hinata and Hanabi attempted to interfere, and I thought he would kill them too. Naruto shook his head. You should know your brother better than that. After I saved you, I talked to him after he disabled me. He never intended to hurt you or your daughters. He knew you wouldn't take revenge on the Branch family. Okay, let's say I accept that. Let's go back to why the Branch family is still deferring to my daughter. Hizashi redirected. Simple, because that was the condition for me removing their seals and placing the new one. They are all bound by Uzumaki contract to respect my wishes. If any of them attack with intention to kill your daughters, their chakra will automatically be sealed. It helped that Hinata had made her intentions to remove the seal known early on in life. Naruto answered. Why are you so committed to helping my daughter? This goes far past childhood infatuation. Hizashi couldn't wrap his head around this concept. Naruto shrugged. I have the rights to my secrets. Hizashi conceded and his shoulders slumped. Do you wish to marry my daughter? Whoa. No, no, no. That came out of left field. Naruto was flustered for the first time in the meeting and was shaking his hands rapidly in front of him. An amused smirk planted itself on Hizashi's face. Well, why not? It is clear that you care about her. Naruto regained his composure and glared at Hizashi. Look here, old man, your daughter is a great girl. That being said, we are 13, or I will be 13 soon. Marriage is not on the discussion block at this time. Your daughter is my friend, if something more comes naturally, then we will deal with it at that time. Hizashi's smirk changed to a small, concealed smile. Very well, I look forward to that day. So, what do the Hyuga owe you for your services? There should be a contract signed by your daughter on your desk. The payment can be at your leisure. I will hold on to the favor for a later date. For now, look after Neji. I haven't been able to interact with him much, but he is taking the loss of his father hard. I never asked, but what happened to his mother? Hizashi's smile faded. She succumbed to a brain tumor, likely due to use of the caged bird seal. It was one of the main reasons Hizashi bore a grudge against the main family. Then my first request is that you formally adopt Neji. Take care of him and help him heal. Naruto asked with a slight dip of his head. Hizashi nodded but looked with an analytical gaze at the blonde. Why? The question is going to bother me, Naruto Senju. Why go so far for my family? Why not do what I can to make the world a better place? Rest assured, your family is not the only one I have helped. Naruto answered without answering his question. The conversation continued in this evasive manner until Hizashi thanked Naruto once again and escorted him out of the compound. That Friday, Naruto picked Hinata up early from her compound and then walked to Ino's house. Shikamaru and Choji were waiting with Ino, and the group made their way to the academy together. Shikamaru used the time to bring Choji up to speed on Naruto, and the rotund boy accepted Naruto easily. Naruto noticed that Choji was much buffer than he remembered at this point, and he asked him about it. Choji wore an abashed look when he answered the question. Well, Kumo was really committed to physical training. I was younger than everybody and I had to work really hard to catch up. Killer Bee took me under his wing and taught me proper dieting for bodybuilding. It went well with my family's specialty and now I look like this. Choji finished as he pulled a strip of jerky out of his pouch and began munching on it. Troublesome. You do bodybuilding and we get stuck with CrossFit. Shikamaru groaned. Ah, Shika, don't say that. CrossFit workouts are shorter and higher intensity than bodybuilding. Think of it this way, it gives you more time to look at the clouds. Naruto offered in an amused tone, which drew laughs from the group. Yeah, Shika, plus you look a lot better than you did 6 months ago. You actually look like a ninja. Ino added. Troublesome blondes. The group made it to the academy and took their seats. Nobody missed the scowls from Sasuke and Kiba when Naruto entered. Sasuke because the blonde was so much stronger than him, and his father chastised him for it. Kiba because Naruto was close to Hinata and had taken his self-claimed position as the class alpha. Even though Kiba felt a debt of loyalty to Naruto, he simply couldn't get past his feelings for Hinata and his jealousy for Naruto's station in the class. The group ignored the scowling boys, the screeching girls and Iruka's closing statement for the semester. They only perked up when it was time for team announcements. Team 1, nobody cares. Team 7 will be Sasuke Uchiha, Kiba Inuzuka and Sakura Haruno under the command of Kakashi Hatake. Enter the usual screeching from Sakura and groans from Sasuke. Team 8 will be Naruto Senju, Hinata Hyuga, Shino Aburame under Itachi Uchiha. Sensei, why does that bastard get to be on the same team as Hinata? Kiba growled out. Sensei, why does he get my brother? Sasuke exclaimed. After silencing the boys, Iruka provided an answer. Teams were chosen by the Hokage. Sasuke, family members are discouraged from taking their siblings on genin teams because we want to avoid favoritism. Now, please remain silent. Team 9 is still in service, so Team 10 will be Shikamaru Nara, Choji Akamichi and Ino Yamanaka. Ino groaned and leaned into Naruto. Damn it, I knew our dads would ruin this for me. Sorry, Ruto, looks like we aren't on the same team. Ino's pouty voice earned her a pat on the head from Naruto. It's okay, Ino. We can still train together before and after team sessions are over. It just gives you a reason to reach Chunin faster, that way we could be assigned missions together. Naruto consoled his friend. Ino used her puppy dog eyes, enhanced with unshed tears, to shoot her best pouty face at Naruto. You promise, Ruto? Naruto felt Hinata grip onto his arm and felt her glare at Ino. Yeah, we are friends. I will help you all train no matter what happens. Just because we aren't on the same team doesn't mean anything. You will just have to pester your sensei to do joint training with us. Choji polished off another stick of jerky before opening a bag of trail mix. Yeah, I am interested in the CrossFit. Count me in. Shikamaru groaned, must everyone be so troublesome? The group's talk was interrupted by 3 Jonins entering the room. One was a raven-haired young man with deep tear troughs set into his face. He wore the standard Konoha Jonin outfit and had a tanto secured to his back. The next was Asuma, look it up. The final one was Kurenai in her Naruto standard uniform, once again, look it up. Team 8, with me. Itachi called and began walking out of the room. The red-eyed beauty followed him out of the room as Naruto, Hinata and Shino rushed out of the room after saying their goodbyes to their classmates. Team 10, with me. Team 7, go grab lunch, your sensei is chronically late. Asuma said calmly while chewing on a cigarette. Team 10 waited as the other Jonin sensei entered the room to grab their teams before they were able to follow Asuma out. Ino squashed the urge to smack Shikamaru over the head for dragging his feet, but that didn't stop her from barking orders at him. Choji just walked behind the duo with a heavy amount of amusement displayed on his chubby face. Back with Team 8, Itachi took the group and Kurenai to the memorial stone and took a seat on the ground. Alright, Team 8, we will start with introductions. I am Itachi Uchiha, I like my family, Konoha and Paki. I hate traitors and arrogance. My dream is to become the first Uchiha Hokage and lead Konoha well. My hobbies include training, working on new jutsu and mastering the Sharingan. Itachi said in a calm monotone. I am Kurenai Yuhi. I am a new Jonin and a Genjutsu specialist. I am here to gain experience as a sensei and provide assistance to this batch of Genin teams. I like Genjutsu, my friends and romance novels. I hate perverts and traitors. My dream is to be known as the best Genjutsu mistress, lead a Genin team and find a good man to start a family with. My hobbies are refining my Genjutsu arts and leading the women's empowerment movement in Konoha. The last part drew raised eyebrows from Itachi and Team 8, all of them thinking that maybe she was taking things too far. Kurenai pointed to Naruto to pass the mic to him. I am Naruto Senju Uzumaki, I am almost 13 years old. I am the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi. I like my friends in Konoha, Kumo, Suna and Wave. I also like training, developing new jutsu and my family. I dislike people that are judgmental, traitors and those that would harm my friends. My dream is to make the world a better place and settle down with a family of my own. My hobbies are practicing with my senjutsu, fuinjutsu and my bloodline abilities. I also dabble in writing, but I haven't published anything yet. Itachi, remembering that Naruto had used senjutsu during the Hyuga massacre, confirmed his thoughts. Have you been able to master senjutsu? Kurenai looked incredulously between Naruto and Itachi. Not necessarily master. It takes me far too long to absorb the energy. That being said, I can enter sage mode if I have enough time to meditate. I am still waiting on Jiraiya to develop it much further. Naruto answered nonchalantly. Sensei, what is senjutsu and sage mode? Hinata asked. Itachi looked to Naruto, who cast an amused glance at him as if saying, why don't you take this one? Itachi fixed his gaze back on Hinata. Senjutsu is the practice of using natural energy to enhance one's own body and capabilities. Sages are incredibly rare and are usually tied to summoning contracts. Jiraiya, the first Hokage, the fourth Hokage and Orochimaru were known sages. Everyone was gaping at Naruto, even Shino, though it was hidden by his high collar. Hinata looked super cute as her mouth gaped into a smile, and Naruto couldn't stop the thought that maybe that was her face. Shaking off his inner pervert, Naruto noticed Kurenai giving him an appraising look, but he could care less. She was a beautiful woman, but he was well aware of her genuine disgust for him. He smirked as he thought that he should send Yosuke her way. She looked like the kind of woman that would appreciate an old-fashioned, Bushido-style man. He actually started nodding as the plan came together in his mind. Itachi let the stunned silence hang for a minute before pointing at Hinata. I am Hinata Hyuga, heiress of the Hyuga clan. I like Naruto, training and adapting the gentle fist, training in use of the bow and cinnamon buns. I dislike people that attempt to control others, judgmental people and perverts. Naruto already helped accomplish my dream, so I am just trying to become a dependable kunoichi. My hobbies include flower pressing, tea ceremonies and creating medical creams. Kurenai beamed at Hinata while Itachi simply nodded and pointed to Shino. Shino answered in his usual monotone. I am Shino Aburame, and I am the heir of the Aburame clan. I like bugs, strengthening my hive and making my clan proud. I dislike people that abuse bugs, people that judge me for what I carry and traitors. My dream is to become the first Aburame to host 5 queens. My hobbies include bug catching and tending to my colonies. That's pretty cool, Shino. You should stop by my compound. My senjutsu practice gathers a lot of natural energy and it has some pretty cool effects on the surrounding wildlife. Also, since I am a Jinchuriki, I was wondering if your bugs would benefit from my specific chakra. Naruto offered, clearly extending an olive branch of friendship. If Shino wasn't held by his stoic clan traditions, he would have leapt over and glommed onto Naruto. As it was, Shino was a true Aburame, so he settled with a gleam in his eyes. Hidden by his sunglasses, and a smile obscured by his high collar. Naruto was able to sense his excitement and he heard Shino's voice crack. That would be most appreciated, Naruto. Itachi smiled at the interaction but decided to get the genin test over with. If Kurenai weren't there, he likely would have passed them straight through. He clapped his hands together to break the touching moment and snapped them all back to looking at Itachi. Alright, so if you didn't know, you aren't true genin yet. Today, we will have a test. Itachi closed his eyes and a shadow clone popped into existence and started speaking for him. Your task today will be to destroy me. All it will take is one good hit. You have an hour to complete this task. Begin. Kurenai watched with an amused smile as the genin darted into the tree line. Then, she lost them, which was strange since she was a natural sensor. Deciding to investigate, she cast a knowing glance at Itachi and his clone, who remained motionless in the clearing. She hopped into the tree line and started looking for the genin. Her senses let her feel 200 meters and she calmed her breathing and stilled her motion to focus on spreading her chakra. To her amazement, the genin were right below her, but their presences were obscured by a barrier that was layered with a genjutsu. After 5 minutes, Kurenai watched the genin emerge from the barrier and noticed that Naruto glanced up and winked at her. Deciding to watch the impending show, she followed the team and took up an overwatch position high in a tree that bordered the clearing. She was joined shortly after by Itachi, who remained impassive and crossed his arms as he watched the genin execute their plan. He activated his Sharingan to make sure he didn't miss anything. Itachi noticed immediately that there were 2 teams of 3. One walking calmly toward Itachi's clone and another setting up behind the clone, who hadn't activated its Sharingan in the spirit of fairness. The clone watched the 3 genin approaching cautiously and it stiffened its posture slightly to a more battle-ready stance. Itachi watched as the 3 figures in the open attacked in tandem, with Naruto leading the way followed by Hinata using any openings he created. Strangely, the Aburame was only limiting the clone's movements with shuriken, which clued Itachi into the fact that this was the clone group. Itachi noticed the 3 genin using the chaos created by the clones to envelop the Itachi clone in a loose triangle, with Shino remaining in the clone's blind spot. Itachi's Sharingan picked up on the miniature chakra signatures of Shino's Kikaichu bugs that flew just above the ground and from high above. As Itachi's clone popped the final shadow clone, the 3 were in position and closing in fast. Flurries of shuriken and kunai were launched at the clone from 3 sides and the clone jumped into the air. Naruto, seeing the clone was airborne, used water style, water gun, to shoot multiple, fast-moving, condensed water bullets from the tip of his finger. Hinata also used the water element and used water style, water bullet, and spewed 2 larger globs of water at the airborne clone. The clone, restricted from using the kawarimi by its creator, spun rapidly and used fire style, mythical flower jutsu, and spit globs of fire that intercepted each of the water jutsu that were attempting to collide with it. Shino, see that it was his time to shine, sent out the signal for his bugs on the ground to fly up at the clone's new trajectory while the bugs from above came down. The clone saw the swarming insects, but it was forced to use its kunai to intercept another 3 water globs that were shot out of the tip of Naruto's finger. Trapped by bugs, water and genin waiting to strike, the clone accepted its defeat. Overall, it took less than 10 minutes for the team to destroy Itachi's heavily restricted shadow clone, but it was still a good display of teamwork from fresh genin. Itachi appeared in the clearing and gathered his team around before breaking it down. Very good, you demonstrated an adequate level of teamwork and consolidated your skills quickly. Who came up with the plan? And whose barrier hid you while planning? Kurenai added. Naruto raised his hand. Well, we came up with the plan as a team, but you restricted your clone too much, Itachi-sensei. Kurenai-sensei, that was my genjutsu enhanced privacy dome. It is a standard tag that I carry. Itachi smiled at his team. Yes, my clone was restricted, but it would be more than enough to deal with your standard genin team. In fact, it is rare for genin to be adept with elemental jutsu at this stage. Who taught you water manipulation? Itachi-sensei, everyone in Naruto's study group could do as much. He wasn't happy with what we were learning at the academy, so he started a study group and trained us up. Sorry Shino, you were already in Suna. Hinata answered. Itachi turned his gaze on Naruto, care to explain? Naruto shrugged, Sensei, I have access to a metric crap ton of chakra and the Senju notes. Between Grandpa Hashi's and Uncle Toba's notes, water manipulation was one of the first things I learned. I could water walk before I left Konoha when I was 5. Kurenai was gobsmacked and she stuttered out a question. Water walking at 5. That is impossible, your chakra coils wouldn't be developed enough. Naruto shrugged before looking blankly at Kurenai. My chakra activated on its own when I was 4 and I was almost killed by a mob. Most people don't have a Biju fox sealed in their stomach either. So, when dealing with me, I recommend throwing the standard book out the window. Itachi chuckled at Kurenai's stunned and disbelieving look. Very well, Naruto, I will come and observe one of your training sessions. When is your next one? Tonight. Itachi raised an eyebrow. You thought you would be able to layer additional training into your first day as a genin. Hinata giggled, sensei, Naruto is a stamina freak. Even if you worked us half to death, he would be ready to go by the evening training session. Itachi smirked, is that a challenge, young Hyuga? Hinata paled, Shino buzzed nervously, and Naruto laughed outrageously. Hinata cast a pleading look at Naruto, who stepped to her defense. Well, sensei, my guess is that you have to report to the Hokage so we would be dismissed after our genin test. If you feel like putting me to the test, I will accept your challenge, but only if you do it with me. Itachi's smirk grew. Very well, since you all completed your genin test so rapidly, follow me for an Anbu warm-up. Naruto wore a crazed look as he doggedly pursued Itachi throughout the workout, surpassing Kurenai and thoroughly impressing the Uchiha. Hinata was able to outpace Shino, but she was still being lapped by the competing duo. They were doing laps around the training ground with workout stations every half lap. Alternating running, burpees, crab walking, push-ups, pull-ups, sit-ups and lunges at the workout stations. Itachi called out a number of each given exercise every time he stopped before he blurred through the exercise and darted off, with Naruto nipping at his heels. An hour later, a sweaty Itachi came to an abrupt halt and watched with an amused smile as a panting and sweaty Naruto slid to a stop next to him. Kurenai was able to outlast Hinata and joined the pair next, clearly exhausted with sweat dampening her uniform, which made Itachi fidget. Nervously. Maybe Naruto would halt his plan with Yosuke and play matchmaker with his two sensei. Hinata pulled up next, a couple minutes after Kurenai, but she was frustrated that Naruto and Itachi had lapped her multiple times. Shino struggled the most, having only endured academy-level workouts and his family's workout regimen. He joined the group nearing a state of total collapse with his bugs making an irritated and tired buzzing noise from within his jacket. Well, Itachi-sensei, when you are done with the old man, feel free to stop by and I will run you through a CrossFit session. Naruto said with excitement lacing his voice. Itachi noticed that Hinata shuddered at his words, but he couldn't stop the amused smile from growing on his face. Very well, Naruto. I will take you up on that. Tell me, what seals are you using to limit your movement? Itachi asked, which drew a shocked look from Kurenai. Well, I have 50 pounds on each forearm and calf. I have 100 pounds in a weight seal on my shirt. I was forced to reduce my resistance seals to level 1 to keep up with you. Before you freak out, my levels are regulated and monitored by Tsunade. She makes sure I do not limit my natural growth. Naruto answered. Itachi blushed in a state of nervous embarrassment. He had weight seals, but they were only at 25 pounds per limb. His illness was receding thanks to Tsunade, but he would be the first to admit that he wasn't the most physically fit jonin. After all, a fresh genin was able to keep up with him with that much of a handicap. He attributed it to the Kyuubi to save his bruised ego. Okay, well, once we have gotten the group up to the appropriate physical standards, I will ask you to apply seals to them as well. Naruto laughed before explaining his behavior. Hinata and my whole study group already have them, of course they have far less weight and resistance though. I can apply them to Shino whenever. Kurenai was hanging her head in embarrassment. Her little sister figure was already more physically fit than she was, and she wasn't even fully grown yet. She had devoted most of her efforts to her genjutsu and she was only at Chunin level in speed and taijutsu. She would have to remedy that, so firming her resolve, she spoke to the group. Naruto, could I join your workouts as well? Kurenai asked, cursing her stutter. Naruto shot an amused look at the red-eyed beauty. Is Hina rubbing off on you, Kurenai-sensei? Kurenai's blush deepened and the group's laughter continued. I am just ribbing you, of course you can join. I think I am going to enjoy my time with this group, Itachi thought, as a small grin appeared on his face. Now, Naruto, don't give her too hard a time. Sounds like we will be joining for your next CrossFit session. What time do you start in the morning? 5:30 am since we are now in our teams. Evening sessions start at 6 p.m. Naruto answered blandly. Itachi and Kurenai failed to suppress their grimaces, they were Jonin dammit and they had earned their beauty sleep. Itachi and Kurenai went to join the other Jonin sensei at the Hokage's office to report Team 8 passing and they found that Teams 7 and 10 passed as well. No surprises there, but they were surprised when Hiruzen stated that all genin that failed would be moved to the reserve roster. He also asked the Jonin sensei that didn't pass their teams to act as part-time trainers for the reserve genin and said that each week of training would count as a standard, B, rank mission. Itachi, Kakashi, Asuma, Genma, Ebisu and Kurenai went to the Jonin bar to discuss what they wished to teach their genin. To their dismay, Might Guy saw them walking through the village and decided to join his eternal rival in their youthful discussion. It all proceeded normally until Kurenai mentioned the CrossFit session at the Senju compound, which caused Itachi to give her a horrified look. Naturally, Guy had something to say about that. CrossFit. What is this CrossFit you speak of? At the Senju compound. What time may I inform my youthful students to attend the most youthful workout with the eternally youthful Senju? From what I have heard that boy's youth shines with the fire of 1,000 suns. Guy shouted enthusiastically. Itachi banged his head on the table, Kakashi patted his junior's shoulder in a comforting manner and Kurenai shot an apologetic look across the table to Itachi. 530. In the afternoon, right? Genma asked incredulously. Kurenai shook her head in dismay. No, in the morning. The afternoon session starts at 6 p.m. Guy stood up from the table and thrust his fist into the air. Oh, what a youthful demonstration of the youthful beauty that is the truest representation of the flames of youth. Count me out, Kakashi said blandly as he returned his attention to his little orange book. He wanted to get to know his little brother better, but he had no inclination to work out more, especially with Guy involved. Me too, added Genma with a horrified look on his face. Me three, as my new student would say, that is far too troublesome. Asuma added. Itachi smirked. Oh, Asuma, you would let your students work out without you. Itachi's normally stoic tone carried an unusually playful mirth in it. Asuma's cigarette fell from his mouth. You are kidding me, right? Asuma looked around at each of the Jonin, right? He asked in a pleading tone. Nope, Ino and Shikamaru have been part of his study sessions. Naruto even has them equipped with weight and resistance seals. Itachi was taking great joy in rubbing this in Asuma's face. As their new Jonin sensei, it would set a horrible example if you weren't there to join them. Guy's flamboyant shouts of youth rang through the Jonin bar and drew more than a few heads to their table. The next morning, at 5:30 am, Naruto was scratching his head as Tsunade, Shizune, Itachi, Kurenai, Asuma, Shikamaru, Ino, Choji, Might Guy, Rock Lee, Neji Hyuga, Tenten, Hinata and Shino reported at his front gates for the morning CrossFit training. He immediately knew that he didn't have enough equipment, so he changed his plans and quickly addressed the group. Okay, well I am glad that my training has drawn the attention of so many youthful people. Naruto emphasized youthful and caused many of the attendees to flinch and cast a terrified look at Guy, who was bouncing on the balls of his feet excitedly. I had a different training session planned, but this will do. My clones will set up a chakra null zone and we will do a workout that will provide a baseline for your level of physical fitness. Choji raised his hand, since he was new, and he asked his question when Naruto paused and nodded to him. Naruto, nice to see you again. What is a chakra null zone? It is a pleasure, Choji. A chakra null zone is a seal I can set to completely negate the use of your chakra. It will also disable any resistance or weight seals, so be aware of that. Naruto started before being interrupted again. Naruto nodded to Kurenai this time. Why not let us use our chakra? Kurenai asked. Okay, everyone please follow my clones through the calisthenic exercises while I break this down for you. If you are already aware of this information, just bear with me so I can bring those that don't know up to speed. The group spread out and began warming up. Kurenai, I am depriving you of your chakra because chakra is a force multiplier. Unfortunately, too many ninjas rely on chakra to do everything for them. Think of it this way. Let's say a standard Jonin's chakra can multiply their strength and speed by a factor of 10 when they channel it throughout their bodies. 5 times 10 is 50, in this case 5 is the base level of physical fitness. Now, let's take Rock Lee for example and say his base level is 25. In that case, we are talking about a difference of 50 to 250. When chakra enhances a physically fit body, the results are multiplicative, thus a force enhancer. Naruto lectured as the group stretched. Asuma asked the next question, don't weight and resistance seals make up for that difference? Naruto nodded to Tsunade, who explained to the group. Weight and resistance seals operate off of your own chakra. They are more a tool to efficiently channel chakra than they are a raw strength enhancement. Trust me, medicine and science says that nothing beats a good old-fashioned, chakra-free, workout. Guy was jumping 5 feet into the air with each hop as he eagerly asked his question. Okay, Naruto-sensei, what is this physical assessment? Naruto smirked, which terrified the group. I am glad you asked, Guy-sensei. This workout is called 30 minutes in heaven. To start, the cycle for this workout is 20 seconds on with 10 seconds of rest. You will set a number of each exercise that you will complete each 20-second cycle. Your score for that exercise is the lowest number you were able to complete in a 20-second interval. Say you set your push-up goal as 20% but on your last set you only get 15. Then your assessment score for push-ups is 15 points. Each exercise will go for a total of 4 minutes. In between exercises, there is a 1-minute break. The exercises will be push-ups, air squats, sit-ups, bicycle kicks, pull-ups and burpees. You will be in pairs with your partner counting your score and vice versa. Push-ups are worth 1 point apiece, air squats are 1 point apiece, sit-ups are 2 points every 3 sit-ups, bicycle kicks are worth half point apiece, pull-ups are 2 points apiece, burpees are worth 2.5 points apiece. Any questions? Rock Lee's hand shot into the air and Naruto suppressed a laugh as he pointed to the eager youth. What do the winners get? Naruto made a show of thinking over it and during that time a beautiful idea hit him. Well, Lee, this will end up being a competition against yourself and I will use it as a marker for your improvement. We will do this exercise once every 2 weeks to track our progress. Naruto noticed Lee pout and Guy was about to move in to motivate his student, so Naruto spoke. But if that isn't enough for you, I propose we have a competition between you and I. Guy started shedding anime tears. My student and Naruto-sensei are so youthful. They're flames of youth. Guy's exclamation was halted by a bonk on the head from 1010. Look, scores will be posted as a sort of motivation. Since Lee accepted my bet, the winner gets to make the loser do something until the next physical assessment. Sound fair? Lee nodded his head enthusiastically. Indeed, Naruto-sensei, that sounds most youthful. The group got over their shudders and broke into pairs. Several Naruto clones were created and began observing the CrossFit participants. After creating the clones, Naruto deactivated the seal that exempted him from the chakra null zone and felt the disconnect to his potent chakra. Since he was competing against Lee, he paired up with the excitable youth and let him go first. A whistle rang out across the field, and everyone blurred into motion. 20 seconds later, the whistle rang again, and the movement halted as everyone tried to steady their pace. This process continued for the next 30 minutes. Naruto took great satisfaction in looking at the exhausted forms of everyone that went first in this exercise. He took particular enjoyment at the horrified look on Shikamaru's face, especially since Naruto's clone kept him from fleeing. Lee had pushed himself hard and fell victim to the nature of the workout. He set the bar too high for himself and burnt himself out early on. In the first 20 seconds, Lee did 30 push-ups. In the last set of push-ups, Lee was only able to do 10, which made his score for that exercise a flat 10. This pattern continued with the spandex-clad youth for every exercise. Naruto told everyone to get ready for the next iteration and all those yet to complete the workout firmed their resolve. When the whistle blew, they blurred into motion and began their 30 minutes in heaven, if Kami were a sadistic bitch. Naruto set a high bar, but he paced himself in a manner that he would be able to complete the max number for each set. He paced himself through the workout, despite him gasping for air and feeling the intense burn of muscle groups throughout his body. Finally, the last whistle blew, and he joined his compatriots in Shikamaru's pastime as the sun began to rise over Konoha. After deactivating the null zone and collecting and compiling everyone's scores, they panned out about how Naruto expected them to. Guy won with a total of 283 points, Naruto in second with 262 points, Choji in last with 112 points, and Lee came in with 152 points, thanks to him constantly burning himself out. Naruto wrote the totals on a chalkboard and turned it for everyone to see how they matched up to their peers. Okay, so this assessment requires knowing your limits and setting realistic goals. I think we all know Lee would have scored much higher if he paced himself better and set realistic goals. Remember, the idea is to complete your given number every 20-second interval for the duration of the exercise. If you commit to the ideology behind the workout, it is an effective measuring tool. We will complete this again in 2 weeks to give you another shot. Not all of my workouts will nullify your chakra, but this one always will. If you wish for me to apply seals to you, the going rate is $200 for weight seals and $400 for resistance seals. Unfortunately for you, Fuinjutsu is the family business and I need to make a living. That is actually pretty cheap, Naruto. Asuma chipped in as he struggled to light a cigarette, which made Kurenai recoil in disgust. Yeah, well, you all get the family discount. For those that wish to stay for chakra training, you are welcome too. Guy-sensei, if I am going to have this many people, I am going to need more equipment. Would you be able to requisition it from the Hokage for me? Naruto asked the enthusiastic man. Guy nodded somberly. That is a most youthful request. Unfortunately, my student lost to you, so I wish to know his punishment before I accept this new task. As his sensei, I will join my youthful student in his punishment since it is my duty as his Jonin sensei. Naruto's smirk looked truly feral, and he looked between Guy and Lee. Very well, for the next 2 weeks Lee must get a fashion makeover by Ino Yamanaka and dress according to her instructions. Ino, I will pay you a C rank for each of them, deal. Ino nodded before she paled and froze on the spot due to being exposed to the sunset of youth. In fact, everyone froze and grew bug-eyed as the constant waves crashed on the beach of the terrifying Genjutsu. If it weren't for 10's club, everyone would have remained stuck in the cursed Genjutsu until permanent damage was done. A weeping Lee wiped away his youthful tears. Very well, Naruto. I have no choice but to set aside the most youthful clothing given to me by Guy-sensei. I will not let this obstacle dampen my flames of youth. Thus, CrossFit became the morning workout for teams 8, 9 and 10. Of course, Lee's team would often go off and do more workouts after the CrossFit session, but at least they brought energy to the butt crack of dawn. For all of the non-crazy people, they grew to enjoy Naruto's non-tortuous training that followed the workout. Growing up with Tsunade, and having a previous life's experience, made Naruto a very effective instructor when it came to chakra control and manipulation. He didn't fight it because he was glad to see all of his friends getting stronger alongside him, except Team 7. Itachi took over after the morning workout and chakra control session and would often take his group to training ground 8 and have them do teamwork exercises. He broke down team roles, threw them into situational exercises and did full-on mission run-throughs against Naruto's shadow clones. Itachi was a committed and attentive sensei that showed Naruto exactly what he missed out on during the last run-through. After teamwork exercises, he did 1 hour of individual training that he used shadow clones to address each member's individual needs. He helped Hinata adjust the traditional gentle fist and adapt it to her water affinity. Hizashi provided Hinata with her mother's Yuho scroll, which was her mother's interpretation of the gentle fist for those with a water nature affinity. It was much more fluid and graceful and truly fit the beautiful Hyuga. Additionally, Itachi helped her understand his support role in the team as an archer, which was the area Hinata truly shined in. Naruto was enjoying his time with the beautiful Hyuga heiress immensely. He concentrated his efforts on building up her confidence, an area she was still lacking in. Although he knew Hinata liked him, he wasn't ready for anything more than friendship because she was still far too young. There was also Temari, but Hinata didn't know that, and Naruto didn't feel like breaking her heart. Rather than complicate everything, Naruto was content to adopt a more brotherly role in Hinata's life for the time being. Shino was almost completely reliant on his clan's jutsu, which revolved around his Kikaichu. Itachi worked to develop Shino's earth affinity and he taught him how to use it effectively. Shino was the ultimate support-type ninja in a battle with his Kikaichu and earth jutsu. Itachi taught Shino how to shape and guide the flow of the battle to benefit his allies and led enemies into traps. Shino grew the most during the first month of training physically and with chakra control. This was largely due to the fact that Hinata and Naruto were so far ahead of him, but that shouldn't take away from his accomplishment. Shino also had one of his Kikaichu queens on Naruto constantly during training sessions and this yielded some interesting results. A new strain of Kikaichu that were larger and faster than Shino's standard hive emerged. These Kikaichu bugs consumed chakra at a much faster rate and they became more resistant to Naruto's potent and corrosive chakra. Naruto explained the difference between a normal shinobi and Jinchuriki when it came to chakra type and density. He explained how each village had access to Jinchuriki and how he could encounter them on the battlefield. This new hive was Shino's first attempt and an answer on how to counter the threat represented by Jinchuriki and other powerful ninjas. If Shino's battle prowess were quantified according to genin standards, it would have been about a 4/10 to start and he was at about a 6/10 after the first month. As far as Naruto was concerned, his relationship with Itachi was much better than in his previous life. Naruto opened up to Itachi and shared almost everything with him. Itachi helped him wherever he could, but he focused on diversifying Naruto's Kenjutsu and Taijutsu, since he lacked Naruto's chakra affinities. He offered his advice where it fit, but he would be the first to admit that Naruto was more of a peer than a student. Itachi acted as Naruto's bridge to the Uchiha and the Hokage. After a month, Naruto had earned Itachi's trust and confidence, which painted a much more detailed picture on the behind-the-scenes details of the village than Naruto had before. Naruto realized how ignorant he was in his previous life due to the guidance and tutelage of Itachi. He also realized how much of an asset Itachi was and how much his mere presence changed in this timeline. After an evening CrossFit session, Teams 8, 9 and 10 along with Kurenai went to Akamichi Barbecue to relax and catch up on recent events. They had reached out to Team 7 on multiple occasions, but they were shut down repeatedly. The more vocal members of the teams hogged the conversation and complained about the boring and monotonous D-ranked missions. Team 9 laughed at their misfortune, but they were still relegated to the village chores in between their C ranks. So, Team 8, are you going to share how you got on the leaderboard for the Tora mission? Asuma asked, looking between Itachi and the members of Team 8. Itachi smirked, maybe my team is just better than yours, Asuma. Asuma looked offended and Ino stood up for her sensei. No way. There is no way you completed the Tora mission in 10 minutes. You must have cheated. Itachi's smirk never fell, and Naruto did an overly exaggerated, shot through the heart, gesture. You wound me, Ino. I thought you trusted me more than that. Naruto said as he acted out his fake wound to the heart. Oh, shut up and spill Ruto. Ino yelled petulantly, which made Shino, Hinata and Itachi snigger. Naruto tapped his finger on his chin, Well, hypothetically, if there were a seal master in the village, and said seal master was repeatedly assigned the same capture mission, then maybe the seal master would come up with a solution to his repeated headache. Ino growled and Shikamaru said, quit being troublesome, Naruto. I already have one troublesome blonde to deal with. Naruto shrugged, I won't disclose such information for free. He made a show of his obstinance and stuck his tongue out at Ino. That is the logical thing to do. One must maintain their advantages in battle, even over their allies. Shino added, playing into Naruto's game. Lee, dressed like a normal person due to repeatedly losing to Naruto during the physical assessments, added his 2 cents. That is most unyouthful Naruto and Shino. You should always help your allies' flames of youth burn brighter. For the fans of Lee, one of the greatest characters in Naruto, the kami of this fanfic will describe Ino's makeover. Lee's bold cut was transitioned into a faded military style, high fade haircut with enough hair on top to spike into a stylish look. The caterpillars were tamed into thin streamlines that emphasized the big, genuine eyes of Rock Lee. Just this change had a great effect on Lee's popularity, and it provided a great amount of gossip. Evidently, the ladies at Ino's preferred salon had to take turns plucking the eyebrows, and Lee's eyebrows conquered 3 of the attendants at the salon before the ladies were satisfied with their work. Ino then changed Lee's whole wardrobe, obviously. Ino modeled him after Naruto's look after she saw what she was working with under the hideous jumpsuit. The boy's body was incredibly toned and Ino had to suppress a blush when she saw Lee topless. She had Lee buy 4 black beaters, 4 white baggy pants and a black leather jacket with the kanji for guts on the center of his back. For his ninja uniform, she modeled it after the traditional Konoha Chunin uniform, except she took the sleeves off of everything. Lee's biceps and triceps were truly works of art. Naruto got a pair of black knuckle dusters with steel plates on the back. He engraved the weight seals into the gloves and shin guards that he bought for Lee. He also applied the resistance seals free of charge since Lee was an orphan, but Guy insisted on trading Naruto taijutsu lessons for his services. Naruto accepted the generous offer because he knew Guy was the premier taijutsu specialist of the elemental nations. As a brief note, Naruto scanned Lee's damaged chakra coils and began coming up with a plan with Tsunade to let Lee use chakra reinforcement, which would make Lee a total monster. Back to the conversation, Naruto sighed internally. You can dress him up, but he is the same eccentric guy. Ah, Lee, would it make your flames burn brighter if we give you the answer or to have you figure out your own youthful solution? Lee was stumped by the question and Neji was audibly scowling by this point. Ino decided to speak up on behalf of the group. Okay, Ruto, you want a trade. If you tell us how you did it, then I will let you take me on a date. Ino said while fluttering her eyelashes at him. Hinata gasped, the group was shocked and the senseis looked on amused at the interaction. Naruto froze as he debated internally with himself. He had been messaging Temari almost every night, but they weren't official yet. He felt scummy for thinking about it that way, but a date with Ino would just be like hanging out with her at this point. Despite all of her bravado, she was still a supremely innocent girl. Deciding that there was no harm in indulging Ino, Naruto decided to call her on her bluff. Plastering a confident smile on his face, Naruto looked Ino directly in the eyes, making azure clash against a wavering baby blue. Deal. I placed a tracking seal on Tora's collar along with a paralysis tag. It is as simple as a scoop and grab. Jaws fell and Itachi smirked in pride. Pick you up at 6 this Friday. Ino was blushing furiously and Hinata's Byakugan activated subconsciously with a look of desperation and rage on her face. Naruto pretended not to notice, but he was internally crushed by guilt. He never should have done that in front of Hinata, despite moving toward friendship with the Hyuga heiress. The group stared in an awkward silence as they all felt Hinata's rage, but that turned to worry when Hinata ran out of the restaurant without saying goodbye. Naruto shot an apologetic look in the group, excused himself and chased after Hinata. Naruto found her crying in the alley around the corner from the Akamichi restaurant and he sat down next to her. He pulled her into him and began rubbing her back in a comforting manner. Hinata, I am sorry. I never should have done that in front of you. Ino is such a flirt and I forgot myself. Naruto's pathetic attempt at consoling her made her tears pour out at a faster rate. Naruto took a deep breath and wrapped Hinata in a warm hug. Kami, it would have been easier if you could have erased my feelings for those I loved. Hina, I want you to understand something. Naruto whispered soothingly. I count you among my most precious people. I love you in a way that very few would understand, but I don't love you in a romantic way. We are still kids and that may change in the future, but for now I want to be honest with you. Hinata's tears turned to rage as she looked up with hardened and teary eyes. Why am I not good enough for you? Is it because I don't flirt like Ino or flaunt my figure? Naruto sighed. Hina, I don't know how to explain it that well. When I feel closest to you, you feel like family. I want to protect you, love you and see you grow up into a happy and beautiful woman, just like my sisters. Kami, this was a terribly awkward conversation to have in an alley. Hinata began to whimper again, and her resolve was failing her. In a moment of desperation, she leaned up and pressed her lips against Naruto's, catching him completely by surprise. Hinata used the kiss to try to convey her feelings, but it was her first kiss, and she was supremely inexperienced. Nevertheless, Naruto felt her love and decided to give her the kiss she desired. Maybe after feeling the lack of a true connection, she would understand. A blushing Hinata pulled back after 30 seconds and locked eyes with Naruto. "Do you still see me as a sister first?" she asked with a wavery voice and flitting eyes. Naruto smiled sadly at her. "Yes. That was a great kiss and I wish I felt the spark, but for me it is familial love. I don't want to see you cry over an idiot like me, I am not worth your precious tears. My only hope is that you can come to love me in a similar way, Hina. Just because my feelings are not romantic doesn't make me love you any less." Hinata broke eye contact and sunk her chin to her chest. Fine, Ruto. I will try." Naruto placed a kiss on her forehead and walked her back to the Hyuga compound. For the next month, he went out of his way to show Hinata that he would still be in her life, even if he wasn't her boyfriend. When Hinata spoke about it with Hizashi, the usually stoic man enveloped his daughter in a hug. While he could understand where Naruto was coming from, it didn't stop the paternal instincts from flaring up. The next few interactions between Naruto and Hizashi had a healthy amount of killing intent laced into every word. A fact that Naruto respected, and eventually Hizashi treated the Senju boy with a begrudging respect since his actions were honorable. Despite the drama with Hinata, Naruto committed himself to the date with Ino. While she was still too young for him to want anything sexual, the spark he felt with Ino was undeniable. She made him feel like a kid again and the weight of the war disappeared in her absence. Since she knew about his connection to nature, they spent time in the shop, forests and parks enjoying a mutual interest. However, today was different because it had the date label slapped on it. Ino was in the process of turning her bedroom inside out looking for a cute outfit to wear that would blow Naruto away. She had enlisted the help of her stepmother, then ignored all of the advice her stepmother gave, rampaged through her room in a futile attempt to choose an outfit, then called her stepmother back in. While Lina was amused by the spectacle, she sat Ino down and offered some good motherly advice. "Ino, the kid already likes you. You don't have to do anything super special or over the top, just be you." With that, Ino decided on a regal purple sundress with yellow daises printed into it. She wore one of her mother's old amber necklaces that was cut into a flower shape and let down her hair. She swept her bangs over the right side of her face and thought that it was cute when she partially hid her right eye. With a spray of a floral-scented perfume, Ino walked downstairs 30 minutes late. She giggled internally like a schoolgirl when she saw Naruto's breath hitch in his chest, and she got butterflies when she saw how he cleaned up. Naruto had arrived at the Yamanaka house at 5:59 p.m. and was welcomed in by Inoichi while Lina hovered over his shoulder. Despite Inoichi genuinely liking the boy and being his psychiatrist, he still had to put on the stern and protective father mask. He hardened his eyes as he looked at Naruto and the bouquet of fresh-picked flowers he was carrying. Damn it, it is hard to be a hard ass when this kid is doing everything. Right. So, Naruto, what are your intentions with my daughter? Ino used his interrogation voice to address the boy attempting to court his daughter. To his dismay, he saw it was minimally effective. Naruto smiled at Inoichi, understanding the game at play. "Well, Mr. Yamanaka, my plan is to take her out for a nice date and a picnic. If you would allow her to stay out late, I have a blanket and I planned on doing some stargazing while I get to know her better." "Ah, that is so cute. Of course, you can keep her out late. Home by midnight though. As they say, nothing good happens after midnight, especially when teenagers are involved." Lina chirped excitedly. Inoichi groaned, the damned woman just gave him permission to keep his daughter out late. "Look, young man, you will respect my daughter. Keep your hands off my daughter and you will have her home by 11:59 p.m., or you will not be allowed to take her out again. Am I understood?" Naruto bowed his head respectfully. "Yes, Mr. and Mrs. Yamanaka." Ino saved him from further interrogation as her heels clattered down the steps of the Yamanaka house. Honestly, Naruto wasn't expecting much because this Ino was still only 13 and she had developed into the soul-crushingly beautiful woman that she was in his previous life. Despite that fact, Naruto's breath still hitched, and his heart raced when he saw her in her purple sundress with a radiant and slightly self-conscious smile on her face. Wow. That one word escaped his lips and Lina smirked proudly as she watched her stepdaughter come down the stairs. Since Naruto's first trip to the shop, she could tell that Ino was making a concerted effort to give her a fair shake. It had reduced a majority of the friction in the household and made way for a genuine mother-daughter relationship. Ino got to the bottom of the stairs and did a little twirl that made her platinum blonde hair and purple sundress dance. As she came to a stop, she smiled shyly and looked Naruto in the eye. "So, what do you think, Ruto?" Naruto blinked dumbly before regaining his composure and saying, "You look absolutely beautiful, Ino." "Like, wow." Ino giggled excitedly before she ran up, took his arm and waved goodbye to her parents. Once a safe distance away from her house, she kept her arm interlocked with Naruto and leaned her head on his shoulder. Naruto knew he would have to have a discussion with Ino about Temari, but he didn't want to ruin the moment or the whole date. Flashback, 3 nights ago, Cage Mansion, Temari's bedroom. Temari was going through the motions of life whenever she wasn't performing her genin duties with her brothers. Everywhere she went in Suna she saw reminders of Naruto, and when everything in life slowed down, a profound sense of loneliness filled her heart. She knew that this was part of a long-distance relationship, and it had always been that way between her and Naruto. Despite knowing that, Temari found that this separation was by far the worst, especially since dreams and memories of their heated session never ended. The one thing Temari had to look forward to almost every night was exchanging messages with Naruto. The communication scroll he gave her was a game-changing invention, and they were using it to make the distance more bearable. It was a far cry from hearing his voice and feeling his touch, but it was still enough to give her goosebumps in anticipation. Just like every other day, she rinsed off the desert's grunge in the shower before plopping herself on the bed and getting ready to read and write. In the past month, Naruto had told her about Samui's seduction attempt turned friendship, and he even told her about their kisses. Temari couldn't help the jealousy, but Naruto had told her straight up that she was nothing compared to his desert lily. She accepted that and moved on, but it did bother her how naturally Naruto made friends of the female type. Sure, she knew that he had a bunch of guy friends too, but it was the girls she was wary of. Once everything is revealed, Naruto would be the most eligible bachelor ever in the elemental nations. Of course, Temari knew that, and she had zero plans on relinquishing her claim. Naruto was, is and will always be hers. Naruto had told her that the only 2 girls that were actually close to him were Hinata and Ino. She didn't know why those 2 were so special, and she didn't know why they were special to him even before returning to Konoha. There was still something that Naruto couldn't tell her. He wanted to, but he literally couldn't. That frightened Temari, but if she knew one thing, she knew that Naruto was a good and genuine man. That is why the current message terrified her. "Yeah, D ranks suck, but I think we are close to our first C rank. Anyway, we were having a group lunch and I kind of got in a situation where I agreed to go on a date with Ino this Friday. You know that I love you and I will cancel if you don't approve, but I wanted to ask you if it is okay. I know this is incredibly awkward and probably not fair of me to ask, so, yeah." Temari couldn't stop the trickle of tears as she rolled onto her back and looked at her ceiling. Even the ceiling reminded her of Naruto because of that wooden fan he made for her. Normally, getting lost in the cycle of its blades comforted her, but now it made her pain hurt even worse. She had the right to be jealous, right? After 10 minutes, Temari worked up the courage to respond. "I guess that is okay. I know it isn't fair of me to expect you to wait around." Naruto read the message and knew that he fucked up. This situation was genuinely unfair and tortuous. Naruto looked to the heavens and flipped Kami off, after which he heard an ethereal chuckle. Damned goddess and her penchant for dramas and soap operas. Naruto took a deep breath and thought out his response. "I am going to cancel then. I love you too much to hurt you like this, and I already knew it wasn't fair to ask. Temari, I want you to know that you are the most important person to me. Next time we see each other, I will explain everything so that you understand. You will be the last person my contract will allow me to share my secret with, but I am confident I am making the right choice. Sorry again for asking." Temari read that and her breath hitched. The last person he could tell. Would she finally get to know all of his secrets? Did she deserve to be the only one he could tell? "Kami, curse you for giving me female hormones. Ruto, if you are that serious then I want you to go on the date. Use this opportunity to make sure I am the one you want to share your full self with. No sex. If someone else takes your virginity, I will remove your kunai and smoke pellets with my fan." Naruto laughed as he read her message. It was so like Temari. Kunai. Wouldn't it be more of a katana? Or at least a Kodachi. Temari laughed uproariously at that. This was the man that could always make her feel like everything will be alright. Fair enough. If you sheath your katana in anything but me, there will be repercussions. Naruto gulped before writing. Are you sure you were ready for that? Temari blushed furiously, but the time apart confirmed her feelings. Yes. What are you wearing right now? I just got out of the shower, so your tank top and an emerald thong. How hard are you right now? Let's just say my katana could pierce the feared diamond armor of Iwa at the moment. Giggle. Lol. Ruto. I miss you. I miss you too, Mari. When I get the Hiraishin down, I am going to stay with you every night. Oh, is that so? Then why do you need a date with Flower Girl? Facepalm. You will know next I see your beautiful face and taste your luscious lips. Nice recovery. Blush. Which lips? Falls off the bed in surprise. Both. The conversation turned into more of a lightcore sexting session, and we will let the lovers have their privacy. End of flashback. Instead of losing himself in thoughts of Temari, he enjoyed Ino's warmth and close proximity as the blonde couple turned heads while walking down the street. Naruto took Ino to an upscale sushi restaurant, since sushi was Ino's favorite food. She always said that it was super tasty and low calorie, even after she broke herself from that wretched diet. Naruto enjoyed the jealous stares as opposed to the hateful glares, and he maintained a positive mood during the walk to the restaurant. Naruto broke out all the stops, making sure to pull out Ino's chair, refill her water, let her order first, let her do most of the talking while actually listening, asking insightful and probing questions when appropriate. He sat with a smile on his face as Ino blabbered on about her team and the struggles of ranks in the flower shop. It was nice getting one-on-one time with her as opposed to the usual group environment. So, Ruto, what do you think about the current situation with the rookie teams? Ino asked. Naruto shrugged. I like it a lot. It is awesome to train with everyone every day. It is much better than being stuck with the same 3 people and isolating yourself from everyone else. Ino frowned. Yeah, Sakura is having a hard time. She says her sensei doesn't teach her anything and is always late. Plus, Kiba is a horny mutt and Sasuke still won't give her the time of day. Naruto frowned, thinking about Team 7. Yeah, well, if she wants to join our workouts you are free to invite her, but warn her that she will need to use her inside voice. As for Team 7, they have refused to join us. Probably because Kakashi is too lazy while Sasuke and Kiba are too proud to ask for help. Ino twirled her straw in her water. Ruto, do you think Sasuke will ever come around? No. Ino raised an eyebrow at his quick and prompt response. Care to explain? Naruto lightened his tone up. No, I don't really want to talk about Sasuke when we are alone together. I would much rather get to know more about you. Whatcha wanna know? Ino asked in a flirtatious tone while fluttering her eyebrows. Naruto tapped his chin as he thought out his question. If you could change one thing about me, what would it be? Ino smiled brilliantly. Okay, but after I answer, you have to answer. Naruto nods. Okay, well, I would say I wish you were only mine. I am not stupid, I see how girls flock around you, and you told me about that Temari girl from Suna. Naruto rubbed the back of his neck sheepishly. Okay, you can't blame a guy for trying to find his soulmate. What would I change about Ino Yamanaka? Is nothing an acceptable answer? No. Ino's pouty face made Naruto laugh. Okay, fine. Maybe I would want her to have more self-confidence. I would want her to know and realize how truly amazing she is rather than rely on the insignificant views of others. Naruto answered while maintaining eye contact with Ino. An embarrassed smile fixed itself on Ino's face. You really think I am that amazing? I don't think, I know. You are a catch, Ino Yamanaka, and anybody who says otherwise is a damned fool. I will bet $1 million that you grow up to be the sexiest kunoichi in Konoha to boot. That being said, it is your inner beauty that draws me to you. Ino was blushing furiously, and her mind was racing 1,000,000 miles an hour. She barely processed that Naruto grabbed the check and paid for their meal. Before she knew it, she was hitched to Naruto's arm again and they were walking toward the clan compounds. Ruto, it isn't even dark yet. You don't have to take me home. She grabbed onto his arm and snuggled even closer, as if that action would make sure he couldn't drop her off at the Yamanaka compound. Oh, We aren't going to your house. I wanted to show you what I have been working on. Naruto replied casually. But, Ruto, the Senju compound is in the opposite direction. Who said anything about the Senju compound? Ino just shut up and enjoyed the walk. She especially enjoyed the jealous glances from the clan girls that were hanging out around the clan district. Eventually, the night came and streetlights flickered on and Ino realized that they were almost directly below the Hokage monument on the edge of the clan district. Naruto was walking up to an empty plot of land and Ino was genuinely confused. Then, a gate appeared, and Naruto walked her through the gate into a truly beautiful world. Inside the Namikaze compound was Michelangelo's depiction of the Garden of Eden. They were trees and greenery everywhere, with lush fruits and flowers of all sizes, shapes and colors. The path through the compound was clear of nature's obstructions, but the vibrant energy of nature filled the jungle that greeted Ino once she passed through the gates. Ino's head spun in every direction as she soaked in the beauty of nature all around her. Her mind barely realizing and marking plants that she had never seen before. What is this, Ruto? She gasped in amazement. Naruto pulled her in and twirled her around. This is my mother and father's compound. This is where I do my senjutsu and Mokuten training. I built this garden with you in mind, Ino, because every time I am in nature it reminds me of you. Ino felt like melting into Naruto. She was pleased by his compliments and simultaneously embarrassed half to death. Thank you, Ruto. It is amazing. Naruto led Ino through the path of beautiful plants, bushes and trees and took her to a small pond with a picnic blanket laid out. He sat her down and unsealed a bottle of wine, 2 glasses and a box of chocolates. Ino was overwhelmed by how much thought Naruto put into the evening and that idea made her flush even more. Before Naruto could open the bottle of wine, Ino lunged over and crashed her lips into his. Naruto saw the move coming and pushed the wine and glasses out of the way. He accepted her clumsy advance and slowly took control of the kiss. With a lick and nibble to her bottom lip, Ino opened her mouth and gasped when Naruto's tongue sensually entered and stirred her tongue into action. The delicate and passionate dance of tongues began as the young blondes attempted to meld their bodies into one. Ino transitioned from a lean and started straddling Naruto, who laid back down and guided the makeout session to a more comfortable position. As the young couple made out, flickers of green light filled the clearing and the garden seemed to light up in a positive energy. The trees seemed to hum in delight while the insects created a symphony of croaks and flapping wings celebrating the union of their master. The overwhelming natural energy caused the flowers to bloom more vibrantly and some of the petals created a myriad of incandescent lights. Ino was in heaven as her first ever date and first ever makeout session were the definition of perfect. Her whole body felt hot, yet completely content. Her passion overcame rational thinking as the kissing intensified and the delicate dance became more of a salsa. The fight for control of the embrace, the game of getting your lover to moan more, the start of roaming hands. Her whole body was in a state of contented ecstasy and before she knew it her sundress was slid up and Naruto's firm hands were kneading her soft and supple butt cheeks. Ino moaned into Naruto's mouth, and she slapped him on a firm set of pecs as their kiss was disrupted by Naruto's smirk. Naruto took advantage of the lapse in the kiss to reverse position and ended with his right leg tucked in between Ino's legs. While his right hand roamed up her dress and began caressing her torso, his left hand pinned her hands above her head. Ino struggled internally as she forced herself to accept her domination and eventually enjoyed the sense of powerlessness as Naruto escalated the makeout session. Naruto was glad that all of his alter egos were out tonight. They usually made sure that they had the weekends to themselves, but Naruto thought that taking things this far would be super awkward with Hikari or Rias or any of them watching on. He returned his attention to Ino as her moans demanded his constant affections. He trailed his fingers just below Ino's bra line, clearly asking for permission to proceed. As Naruto waited for her response, he set this as the self-enforced limit that he wouldn't pass. Lime warning. Ino felt Naruto's finger dancing around her breasts, and she freed one of her hands and forced Naruto's right hand under her bra and urged him forward. Ino used her newly freed hand to pull Naruto deeper into the kiss, completely enthralled in the act of surrendering herself to this incredible man. Ino's body froze, and she felt a pressure building up as Naruto attended to her right nipple. Naruto freed her other hand and began applying dual stimulation to her nipples while nibbling on her collarbone. Naruto had a crazy idea pop into his head, and he decided to trust his instincts. It was how he always operated on the battlefield, after all. Naruto toned down his dense chakra and began swirling it around Ino's perky nipples through his fingertips. He felt her body shudder and considered upping the amount of chakra he was feeding into her, which he did slowly. Ino's body began convulsing and Naruto took great enjoyment watching her eyes roll up into the back of her head as she came to her first real orgasm. Naruto's genes were slick with her womanly juices, and he relented on his ministrations to let the young blonde come back to her senses. Lime end. As Ino cracked her eyes opened and her brain came down from the high of overstimulation, she felt the soft, tender kisses and nibble coming up from her collarbone and trailing up her neck back to her lips. Ino kissed him greedily and pulled his head down to her. She began working at his belt, but Naruto's calloused hands halted her efforts. Ino, my flower princess, let's stop here. I do not wish for our relationship to be about sex. I value you and is too much to let it be simply physical. Naruto placed a soft, tender kiss on Ino's lips to let her respond. Oh okay, Ruto. I love you. Her disappointment turned to excitement as she saw Naruto's smile. Naruto placed a tender kiss on her nose. I love you too, Ino. Naruto knew what he was doing was probably wrong, but it felt so right. He was confident Temari would understand once he shared the memories with her, which left him with trying to figure out how to tell Ino. He didn't want to be cliché and claim it was because he would be in the CRA. That would be an absolute last resort and he would commit the time between now and the Chunin exams to figure it out. Naruto picked Ino up off of the picnic blanket and Ino gasped as she saw the plants glowing with luminescent light. The garden in the Namikaze compound looked like something out of Avatar as the compound literally hummed with life energy. Naruto wiped some of the dirt off of Ino's dress and let her recompose herself. He shifted his throbbing erection to prevent it from pitching a tent and then pulled Ino into him for another passionate kiss. He then walked her out of the compound and back to her house. Ino was on cloud 9 as she walked through Konoha's streets arm in arm with Naruto. The smile on her face would have threatened to split her face if she didn't feel so content. She removed her head from Naruto's shoulder and jumped on his back. She relished the feeling of Naruto's toned body and his arms snaking under her legs. She leaned her head on his shoulder and enjoyed the state of quiet contentment as the sounds of Naruto's shoes echoed across the empty streets of Konoha. Naruto arrived at the door of the Yamanaka household at 11:55 p.m. and after checking his watch Naruto decided to make the most out of his last 5 minutes. As Naruto's lips touched Ino's, the door flew open, and a respectable amount of Ki flooded the doorstep. Naruto didn't even look the slightest bit apologetic as he met Inoichi's fiery gaze. Inside, young lady, Inoichi said in a firm tone, despite the apologetic look that Lina was shooting the couple over Inoichi's shoulder. Oh, can it daddy? Ino leaned up on her tippy toes and planted a passionate kiss on Naruto before winking at him and sauntering into the house. Inoichi saw the shit-eating grin on Naruto's face and scowled. Look here, young man, that there is my daughter. She is my princess, and you will treat her as such. Naruto nodded and smiled disarmingly at the irate man. I know, she is my princess too. That took the fire out of Inoichi's sails, but he still maintained his stern look. Cough. Well, good. I am glad we came to that understanding. Yup, so I am sure we will be seeing each other more often. On my mother, I swear that I will treat your daughter like the princess she is. I am sure you know that as a near 16, the council is going to try to put me under the control of their greedy paws. When the time comes, I hope I have your support. Inoichi's scowl deepened as he understood Naruto's meaning and knew that he was 100% correct. If my daughter wishes to continue things with you, you will have my support. Thanks, Mr. Yamanaka. See you next week for my session. Inoichi blanked. Was he just talked down in less than a minute by a teenager? Cough. Sure, I will see you then. It will be a solo session without your alters. How is the memory separation going? I am still having lucid dreams, but nothing like direct transfer. Every dream shows them in heightened emotional states, like when Rias is hooking up with Anko or Hikari is playing with her friends. I am trying to respect their privacy, but I think my subconscious is saying that I cannot completely separate from them. Naruto said, clearly deep in thought. Inoichi, in professional mode, nodded along. I think you are right. We will continue to keep a close eye on it. Continue the resting periods for each of them and make sure to stay on top of your meditation. Any new personalities emerging? Nope. Well, it's late and we can start from there next week. Thanks, Daddy. Before Inoichi could retaliate, Naruto used Shunshin to disappear from sight. Inoichi growled and slammed the door closed behind him. Damn brat. He saw Lina and Ino talking excitedly about the date and a pleasant smile worked its way onto his face. He was about to sit down on the couch and join the conversation when both blondes screeched at him and claimed that this was girl talk. With a final scowl, Inoichi retired to his room for the night. Thank you for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe and I'll catch you in the next part.